Hey everybody, it's Raven here. I was kind of hoping once again to have people on with me. I believe Serious Mind will be coming. I think. I hope. I don't know. So anyway, yeah. Today I did a whole lot of nothing. Excuse me. I did a shit ton of nothing. And I decided I would do this and put a face on and try really hard to not look like a member of Twisted Sister. I am not sure I succeeded. So, yeah. So there's that. That is going on. That's, you know. I don't know. I don't know. Alrighty. This sucks. Just really hoping to avoid talking to myself for a while. We'll see. I don't want to do this too much longer. Hey, clock. You got the coof? What? Coof sucks. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. What is the coof? COVID. People are calling it coof? Well, that's a new one. Yeah, I had COVID. I had it. It sucked. And I would like to not have it again. And I'm sorry to hear you have it. And hopefully, you can get over it without incident. I hope. There's my hair is a mess. I am multitasking. Not really. Yeah, this sucks. My day clock, to be honest. Hey, there's Joe. Hi, Joe. You are quiet. There's no sound from you. Is that on my end? Let me see. I don't know.
Nope, it's on my end.
Okay. There you is.
Here I is. Yeah, is. How busy you today? You started to tell us about your day.
Proceed to capture that area.
Wow, what is that?
I had already started a game. I'm playing World of Warships. I'll lower the volume.
Oh. I'm like, what is going on?
Prepare to capture that area.
There you go. My day is uneventful. I sat on my ass and let YouTube just play random music videos. And yeah, that was my day. I went out in the rain and barbecued a couple of burgers and
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, today was Suzanne's birthday, so
Happy birthday, Suzanne.
yeah. So yesterday we went out to Rod's Steakhouse, and today we were playing games with friends. We're playing Fallout 76, and then it got late, and we said, well, it's too late to actually start cooking something, so we ordered in Thai food.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very, very nice. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of fucking shit today. And it's nice when that happens.
it is nice when that happens.
But I mean, to be honest, I haven't been doing a whole lot of shit lately, just in general. So,
Mm.
you know, it's not like today was special.
Situation normal.
Hey, Butch. Yeah, situation normal. Yeah, my hair is all a mess. It was from the rain. Now it's like all wavy and shit because it got wet.
Wow.
Hair is weird.
Hair in general is weird.
It's weird, yeah.
Well, it's really, especially considering it's made of the same protein that makes up fingernails, scales, and claws.
Yeah, and my nails don't get all wavy when they get wet.
They don't.
So what's up with that? You're always up with that.
It is bizarre.
So this is interesting. The state of Florida, um, right wingers, I should say, in the state of Florida have been making the case, very poorly, I might add you, but they've been making the case that the existence of LGBT people is basically a sex crime against children. It's why they ban drag shows and are banning transgender healthcare for people of all ages. So now what they've done is a committee in the Senate of the Florida legislature has basically voted to, unanimously, voted to make it a death penalty to commit a sex crime against a child. So these two different facts, that just existing as an LGBT person is a sex crime against a child, and death penalty for sex crimes against children,
So yeah, so they,
opens the door to extermination.
yeah, and and this is the thing. We've been saying this shit for a long time, and I remember years ago people were like, "Oh, it's not this, it's not that." You're being alarmist. No, we were bloody well fucking not. In fact, we weren't being alarmist enough.
So, yeah, that's bad. That's just all very, very bad.
That is what it is. In fact, there's really needs to be a better word than bad because it doesn't quite sum up the fuck upness of that it is.
I saw that today, and it's absolutely horrifying. Because I mean, obviously, they're not saying that's what it is, but if they're calling LGBT people groomers, and pedophiles just by existing,
Yeah.
well, what other conclusion, can you possibly come to? This is the road that we're on,
Yeah.
or at least in Florida.
Yeah.
I got hit up today. Guy sent me a friend request, and I deleted the friend request. Now you have the option of you have three options. You can accept it, you can delete it, or you can ignore it. Right. So I chose to delete it, and he immediately sent me a message. Just, hey, how are you? So I looked at his profile, and he's a Trumper, pro-Trump.
Hmm.
Going back to the first time Trump ran, pro-Trump, from Missouri. And I just, was just like, you're like, what? He's like, oh, you're beautiful. Well, thank you. And I said, what I said, I was like, I'm just going to fuck with this guy. So I was thinking, whatever. Okay, here's what I'll do. And I was just like, sometimes I wonder and fantasize about what it might be like to be with a right winger. And he said, what's that? And I'm like, what's what? He said, a right winger. I said, uh, somebody on the political right, a Trump supporter. And he said, I'm a Trump supporter. I said, I know. I said, and I think you're fascinating. He's like, well, you're beautiful. Are you dateable? And then I posted on Facebook, I said, right in the middle of that conversation, I posted on Facebook that basically right wingers um, like trans women, but only in their porn or if they're available to fuck.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the thing. That's the well, there's so many fucked up things with them, but the fact that on the one hand, they're like, oh, you guys are, you trans people are so horrible, and yet a lot of them secretly want to fuck you. It's just like, like not every homophobe is has latent homosexual tendencies, but there are plenty that do.
yeah, enough to make it a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Galen, do you want to come on?
And at least for the ones that are, I mean, really, I think it really comes down to self-loathing. You think about Ted Haggard. You grow up in an environment where everyone tells you that being this way is, anathema. That it's, you're horrible and you're a front against God and all these kind of horrible
Right.
things. And so you either get away from it or you internalize it.
Right. So I caught I didn't stay long. It was a few minutes of a broadcast from a group called Men Like Us. And there's the guy Chris who is the leader of it. He's somebody I've actually had on the channel. I did an interview with him. And basically it's guys that are attracted to trans women. Right. And I was watching his broadcast last night, and he had like some complaints as far as like, women giving guys like him a hard time, trans women giving him a hard time, and like calling them chasers and all that stuff. And I was just like, and I said in the chat, and I saw it or not, but I had said in the chat that, what do you expect? The number one cause of death for trans women are the men that are attracted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to get a hard time. And you start saying that you're attracted to trans women, where you're specifically attracted to trans women. Well, that's a little scary.
Right.
Like in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with the attraction.
Right. But it's just they have a checkered history, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't want to be reminded by the guys that are attracted to me that I'm trans. Are you attracted to women, or are you attracted to the fact that I may or may not have a penis and you don't even know? You know what I mean? What is your thing? And if it's just that I'm a trans, well, that's not enough. Yeah, trans women are going to look at you suspiciously. They should. They should be cautious. They have every reason to be. Get Joe all lost in his game.
Yeah, I'm listening to you though. I didn't have anything. I didn't.
But I can see on your face like you're like you're so into the game.
I didn't have anything. Well, the thing is, it's kind of it's one of those things where if you stop paying attention, you're in hurting real fast. But it's
all right.
Yeah, I guess if you had someone had like a it would be nice if it wasn't like a bad thing or a potentially bad thing, right?
Right.
Because I could see someone saying, like, I've known of straight guys who were attracted not to all lesbians, but specifically like butch lesbians.
Right. It's just like, why that specificity? Like,
I can understand it to a degree, because obviously, a butch lesbian, she's a woman, but she has some masculine aspects to her, and maybe someone who's like, you know, we know the sexuality is not a strict binary, that it's a spectrum,
Right.
right? So
Right.
if you look at it from that perspective, that someone says, well, it's a woman, I get to have all the woman, you know, bits, and they're womanly, but yet they're also maybe a little manly too, and maybe, yeah, you know, maybe there's a part that they're not 100% straight. You know, maybe they're that's the safe way of being with somebody who has masculine features, but without, you know, in their mind, it's just maybe because maybe being gay would be bad for them, but you know, it's kind of like one step away from being, you know, being a gay man in a way.
Well, I mean, that's what I think a lot of men that are attracted to trans women, that's their thing too.
Mm.
It's a way that they can like cross that line and then tell themselves they didn't really cross it. And the reality is they didn't really cross it.
Right. But what's interesting though, you know, and this is something that actually really like messed up my perception of what being trans really was for a long time. Because, you know, basically what it is this, you know, if my supposition about this person was right, it really only applies to that person. It doesn't apply to trans people in general. But so it was a trans woman. It was the same guy who did Hookers on the Point did the thing about trans women in Hawaii, trans sex workers in Hawaii. And the first woman that they you know, covered, she was, you know, very feminine, and if they didn't tell you that she was born in a male body, you probably wouldn't have noticed.
Right.
And then there's one, and she was fairly feminized, but so again, and this was the misunderstanding of the guy who did the documentary, because in this person's mind, that, you know, I guess they were still, you know, men, you know, acting like women, right? So so he asked this trans woman, how does it, because they were, you know, no bottom surgery, no top surgery, you know, it was just stuffing and tucking, and he said to her, how do you feel about the fact that, you know, most of your clients are gay men, which they're not, but that's, it was his perception, right? So she responds back, instead of saying, well, no, they're straight men, you know, and they're attracted to me,
Right.
said, no, I don't see gay guys, and then start saying all this homophobic stuff, and then was like, if a gay guy came to me, I'd beat the shit out of him, and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of internalized hostility.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, she's really insecure.
Right. And what it made me feel, and what the impression it gave me, and I think it may be true for that one person, was that, because I started thinking about it. So, you know, and from talking to her about her upbringing, yeah, she started out seeing herself as a gay man, and then, and I could see
It's
if
a
you,
common path.
right,
You know,
but
I know.
I could see if you grew up in an environment like Ted Haggard, where being gay was anathema, that you'd say, well, I'm not a gay man, I'm a trans woman. That it was a way to kind of cover.
Right.
And I don't believe, and so that gave me the wrong impression that that was what was going on in general. I don't believe that
Right.
anymore. In fact, I know that's not true.
Right.
I still think it was true in this person, with one person though.
It may be. It may be. There's like a million different, paths to get to the same place.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
it's
because
like I had said not.
she had such hostility toward gay men. The idea of gay, even the idea of gay
Yeah.
men was so, it was
Yeah.
weird.
Well, I mean, but you got to remember also though, like what that whole thing, like the idea that she's, working and her clients are gay men, that assumption basically is saying that she is a man.
Fair enough. That's a good
So
point.
for her to get her getting upset is more of a self-defensive thing where she's like, but no, I'm not getting, my clients aren't gay because I'm not gay.
Right, I got you. Yeah, because this way he's kind of invalidating her womanhood.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I can
Yeah.
see that.
But like the thing that you were saying about like what you believed might be true about her, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But I do know that for me, the opposite was true, where I mean, either, gay or trans was going to be an issue in my environment, and the
Right.
people that were closest to me, it was going to be an issue. It was an easier thing to accept a gay man because it's easier for most people to understand.
Right.
So, like, I lived 9 years, with my ex-boyfriend, and as far as like my identity and how I felt about myself and how I related to the world,
Mm.
in terms of that, they were the happiest years of my life until now,
Right. Right.
because it afforded me um the ability to relax as far as like my hand gestures and how I walked, and I didn't have to worry about if I sounded gay
Right.
or if I sounded feminine at all.
Right.
It didn't matter because I was gay.
Yeah.
You could get away with it as an excuse. So it allowed me to relax for the first time in my life. Um, yeah, I mean, and if that relationship hadn't ended, you know, I would have been satisfied.
Mm.
You know what I mean? With that right there, that
Right.
would have been enough. You know what I mean? It would not have gotten rid of like the dysphoria, but it would have satisfied it enough that it quieted my mind enough to just go on. At least I think.
Right.
Like,
Right.
who knows, 10 years down the road, what would have been happening in my mind.
Right.
But at least at that time, it seemed like that would have been enough to satisfy the dysphoria, to quiet it.
Right. That makes sense. Um, the I think you made the point, raised the point too. Like, I think it people, society as a whole does have a harder time understanding it. And you're right. I think people they get gay, not I mean, I don't get gay, but I mean, they understand homosexuality more. And the thing is, though, is like when you look back, even just the last century, how many examples that were there for people to see if they were willing to look at it. Um, and the other thing too, and I've said this before, the thing well, one of the many things that bothers me about transphobes is that when they invalidate you is because on the one hand, just say if someone had identified as a gay man, again to kind of fit in as best they could, and to denigrate that person, people will say, oh well, because they're effeminate, oh well, they would call that person a woman.
Right.
But then if that person says, hey,
Yeah.
you know what, you're actually kind of right, I actually really am, and then they're like, no, you're not. No, but you just said you were saying for
Yeah.
years you called this person that, and you insisted that they weren't a real man because they were effeminate, and now when they go, okay, I accept, and now you're pissed off. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I
You
speaking of
just can't. You can't upset the dominant culture. You can't.
yeah, speaking of trans women and Trumpers. So remember Tattoo Skin?
Yes.
So I don't know if you knew that she came out as trans.
Did not know.
Yeah. So what had happened? It was kind of a very involved thing. So there was some sort of family like basically I think someone died in the family, so everyone got together, and then and this goes to the people of assuming grooming and all that other horse shit. So basically, she basically like was on the couch with her niece and just comforting each other, just hugging, and
Right.
somehow they no sorry no it was her nephew, and somehow the family took it as, oh, you're trying to do unspeakable things to the, and so they called the police and they really made a big deal about this, and she was like kind of risking being on the registry. Actually, I think she's on the registry, so that was a way to get out of potentially going to jail. But the thing is, the girl's sorry, the boy's sister made a YouTube video. It was like, this is complete horse shit. I was there the whole time and nothing fucking happened, and this is just bigoted family members who've never liked this, never liked her, and I mean that at the time this was still identifying as he, but
Right.
and they just because they're homophobic and blah blah blah, and so went through a whole bunch of shit. Um, at probably about a year later, she came out as trans,
Wow.
and I'd stayed friends with her for a while until she started. Hooked up with this Trumper, and and this Trumper knew that she was a trans woman, and it was so bizarre because and then she started her politics started like going down the Trump route, and I'm like, honey, you are going down the wrong path. These are people are not on your fucking side. But yeah, it was the weirdest fucking thing. And at that point, I got to a certain point, and she and I got in an argument over something related to Trump, and I blocked her because I'm not fucking dealing with this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the weirdest fucking thing. Because
Wow.
I mean, I felt. I mean, on one hand, I mean, she seemed to be legitimately happy, and she posted a lot about that. Like, hey, I'm being my true self, and I'm like, hey, awesome. I'm so glad that you're able
I
to get there.
found her on Pinterest.
Oh, you did.
Look at her.
Post it in the private chat.
Which that's an unusual first name. Um where the hell is private chat? Oh, right there.
Well, that's a kind of a common name. You know.
Do you mind if I say it out loud? It's only the first name, so
Yeah,
Michaela?
Michaela.
Yeah, that's Michaela.
Michaela.
That's how you spell Michaela?
That's how.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically feminized Michael.
Michaela.
Michael's her dead name.
Right.
And yeah, it was just really fucking strange. But she seems happy, so that's good. But how she ended up being a Trumper is,
Wow.
yeah. And now she has a whole thread here in her transition, posting pictures, from the beginning all the way through the
Is
end.
that on Facebook?
No, on Pinterest.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
look.
I'll post a link to
Wow. Look at those eyebrows, bitch.
it.
I'm jealous. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
when you see the before and after pictures. It's pretty stark.
yeah. It's like, you can see like there's a lot of pictures. Good for her. As you trace the pictures, like starting at the oldest ones and go through, you can see the subtle changes in her face.
Yep.
And I don't know if she had facial surgery or not. Because fairly there is a fairly gradual change, but all of a sudden there seems like a bigger change. I don't know if that's makeup. That might be makeup.
Yeah, could be.
But she looks fairly passable now.
Yeah.
With epic eyebrows, bitch. Oh, eyebrows are such a hard thing for me because I have like, burnt eyebrows. Because they're flat.
Mm.
They're straight.
Well, like I told you, for me, it's always, I see you, just now, and I look at you, but then what really is stark for me when I look at the pictures of you from before, and I go, oh, whoa, okay, because when I look at you, because for me, again, I've seen you change gradually, so in my brain, it's the frog in the boiling water.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But then when I look at who you used to look like, and I'm like,
not looking very good tonight, but that's okay. I'm entitled.
I don't look good any night, so don't feel bad.
I was down here putting my face on, like I said before you came on. I mean, I was desperately trying not to look like a member of Twisted Sister. So
Jeez.
we're not gonna take it. So
Galen said Joe versus the Trump volcano.
yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's me. Okay. Well, the thing is, it was really kind of funny. 'Cause obviously, look, he's done a lot of damage to this country
Yes.
and continues to do so by virtue of his Supreme Court picks. But what's happening now is like the Republican establishment is desperately trying to move on from him, and he's not having it. And so now he's fighting with DeSantis and all this, and so camps are lining up as the pro Trumpers and the anti Trumpers, and I'm like, as much damage as he's done, he could end up destroying the Republican Party.
Yeah, but they're gonna break the country before. I mean, I already know Galen is already typing. It's already broken. Um,
It can break. It can get worse.
but yeah, it could get worse, and um, yeah, the things that are happening, it's so scary. Like Governor Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, signed an executive order last week, basically, in essence, making the state of New Jersey a trans refugee state.
Nice.
So if there are folks from other states that need to get the fuck out, like people in Florida, for instance, we are a safe space for them. Minnesota is also.
Yeah.
Really surprising. Minnesota is really surprising, but because they are like, yeah, they're like.
Minnesota is. I mean, they're pretty democratic. I mean, Michigan's the other. I mean, see,
Fairly. It's just that they're surrounded by what they're surrounded by, and it's just
yeah, they're kind of a bastion in the sea of red.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, and I was just watching a Bo video earlier before I came in here, and it was a Republican who wrote in, and it was the typical, it's one of these people that he's probably talking in good faith, but he's missing some really important things, which is probably why he's conservative. So did the typical question of like, well, why are Democrats making such a big deal of it? It's like, well, it's one of the things. Well, I don't care what people do, but why are the Democrats making such a big deal of it? And I'm like, and this guy, clearly like has libertarian leanings, and it's like, so basically, what you're saying, bigotry is okay, and oppression is okay, as long as it only happens to a small number of people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically someone's, tell me you're a bigot without telling me. It's like, so because truly, if you listen to libertarian rhetoric, and if you actually follow libertarian doctrine, the oppression of one is the oppression of all, right? I mean, that's it cannot be tolerated. But you're very clear for him. It's negotiable. So look, if you really
it all depends on who the others are. Right.
That's right. If you really don't care that trans people use whatever bathroom and use pronouns and all that, then you wouldn't want you. And then Bo makes the point. It's like Democrats are not the ones passing legislation. Republicans are. So his point was, if you really believe in that small government, these Republicans are not those small government people they pretended to be a long time ago. They don't even pretend it anymore. Sure. There's nothing small government about writing laws to take away people's freedoms. So it's like, it's just like the people that like the tankies who are showing out for fucking Russia still, because they somehow think that Russia is the old Soviet Union and is this leftist bastion against Yankee capitalism. And it's like, no, they're a right-wing authoritarian oligarchy. They are as capitalist as we are, and then some. Probably even worse, because basically their oligarchs are openly protected under law. At least we put a pretense that they're not. So I'm like, Russia is not some and or maybe they're doing the thing, or some of them may be doing, like, well, if U.S. bad and they're opposing U.S. interests, so that's good. Like, no, 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 that's not how it works. Both sides in the conflict could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I get the U.S. has done a lot of shady shit for a lot of years in a lot of places all over the world. I get that. It doesn't mean that everything the U.S. does is shady shit.
right,
It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that the U.S. is the great Satan. I lose my patience when people start going on and on, you know, always just being negative, anti-U.S. American citizens, just being anti-U.S. from from Jump Street,
yeah,
just
yeah,
immediately. It's just like, yo, slow your roll. Like you can have an honest discussion about shit that's happening, whatever, blah 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 blah, and still understand that you have certain privileges and rights and everything else as an American citizen that this country that you hate gives you,
right,
and at least recognize that.
right.
And then let's have the conversation about the shitty thing that the U.S. did whenever, wherever.
That's right.
I mean, it's to say like this is going on or that's going on nowadays, and this is so bad or whatever. To respond with, well, in 1965, you know what? That don't mean shit now.
Right. We don't live in
Where are we now?
right. Well, the other thing too, and like I said, is okay. You can point to every single bad thing the U.S. has done, and there's plenty to point at for sure.
Yep.
Um, but that doesn't mean that the people who oppose us are doing good. Then, you
Right.
know, just because Russia opposes U.S., so if U.S. does bad and Russia opposes them, then Russia's good. No, no, it doesn't work that way. Um, again, you could have two sides that are both bad and either equal or any unequal measures, whatever how it is. And you're right. I mean, well, especially like my thing is always look. I'm happy to talk about everything that the U.S. does wrong. In my opinion, I often do, as you know.
Right.
But what gets me is that when people just make shit up or just pile on, I'm like, you know what? There's plenty of legitimate things to gig the U.S. for. You don't have to make shit up. You have to lie about
Right.
it.
Right. But I actually I had posted a thing on Facebook the other day quoting JFK.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you saw it. It was like,
No,
basically very, very, even today, what good is preserving our nation if our traditions don't survive with it, or whatever the wording was? I don't remember exactly, but that's it. That's the quote, right? And this woman, commented saying something about, "Oh, you mean white supremacy and blah 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 blah," or am I missing something?
yeah.
And I'm like, how about representative democracy? And
Yeah.
sorry, to jump to the negativity, it's kind of that's troublesome to me.
It
That's
is.
troubling.
Well,
It's like,
because it's cynicism, right? And the thing is I have a big problem. I have a big no problem with critics. I have a lot of a problem with cynics because basically cynics have given up. Cynics are basically saying that it's broken and cannot and never will be fixed. I'm like, okay, then I don't need to talk to you about it because I'm interested in trying to fix it. And if you don't want to, that's fine. You're not obligated to. But if you're going to basically just waste my time and tell me how I'm wasting my time, I don't fucking. That's a waste of my time. That's an even bigger waste of my time. Well, exactly. It's very well put, Galen. There's plenty to criticize and much to appreciate. And I think a lot of the people who say this shit, they've never really been anywhere. And that's the thing on both extremes, right? When you look at the right wingers who are like America first, America always, America's the best everywhere, you've clearly never been anywhere else. The ones who are like, you've clearly never been anywhere else. And the ones who are like, America's the worst place ever and there's nothing good about here, you've clearly never been anywhere else. So it's especially like the other thing that drives me fucking to a distraction is now that capitalism is the boogeyman. Everything's wrong. You get hit by a bus tomorrow, it was capitalism. Everything is put in the fucking that vein. And I'm like, you know what? Greed existed before capitalism. Greed existed. You remember feudalism? Feudalism was even worse, right? Again, we had that too, and we had all others.
luckily, I don't remember feudalism.
Well, this is true. You're right. Yeah, we didn't go through it, but the thing is that even in, and I point out that those social democracies that liberals and leftists look to and say, hey, look at those great things they're doing that we should be doing. They have market economies too. They are, the only difference is they do a better job of regulating their capitalism than we do. This idea that it's inherently anything, it's an economic system. It's whatever you make of it, right? If you basically if you write your laws that basically protect big corporations and fuck over the people, well, that's the policy. It's not, it has nothing to do with the economic system. See, basically what happened is the right wing turned capitalism into a religion, and we basically believed them. Like they basically said, well, all these horrible things, and this is kind of the irony of for the right wing capitalist, is that they basically convinced everybody, well, all the horrible shit that happens has to happen. There's no way around it. Companies have to be terrible and have to do all these things. So basically, what's happened is the people that don't want those things to happen say, well, if these things are part and parcel of capitalism and we want to get rid of these things, that means we got to get rid of capitalism. So all they did was create anti-capitalists.
Right. That's what yeah.
But
I mean, that's the right wing, though, right? I mean, that's always their thing. They create their own enemies.
Yes, absolutely. And when they don't, and when they can't, they gin them up. They just invent some.
Right. They do, or yeah. They create them by creating the environment where an opposition is going to spring up,
right.
Or they just create them out of whole cloth and invent them like they're phantoms.
Exactly.
One or the other. Or
so
both.
I remember arguing with Shayra a long time ago because Shayra was like, when I said, well, I'm under the definition of capitalist, I am one because I created a business and blah blah blah, and she was dead set like, no, you're not, because blah blah blah. I'm like, you don't see. Here's the problem, Shayra, is that your definition doesn't match with the real one, but you're dead set against that. You can't accept that the reality isn't what you wanted to believe. So therefore, you have to say I'm not the thing that I am, just because you think I'm not that horrible thing, and I'm not. So instead of saying, okay, that there's more to the answer, more to the question than just a simple, black and white, binary situation, you just basically redefine the terms. And it's the same thing. I've had people, anti-feminists, right? They'll any feminist that they consider reasonable, well, they're not really a feminist because a feminist means some man-hating, thing,
Right. Bold like lesbian man-hater.
Exactly. Yeah, they're lesbian man-hater. So they just redefine it, and I'm like, I remember arguing with this one guy. I'm like, no, they're feminists too, whether you like it or not. Maybe you should broaden your opinion of what a feminist means, because feminists sure do. And I'm like, and I'm like, look, when I first came to YouTube, one of the first things I learned, and I wish I'd learned it much earlier, was that feminists were not a unified block. That there were different schools of feminism, different schools of thought, and different approaches, and they didn't necessarily get along with one another, and they didn't agree. And so when we came in, and you remember, it was like Nelly and Odie fighting with Diana Boston and Nuke and all that, and I was like, holy crap, and they were like bitter fights with one another. And like, oh, wow, this is a much deeper issue than I was ever led to believe.
Hang on one second. Hey, baby, I'm sending you something. Did you see this?
No, I haven't. That's right. That's right, Galen. Well, because it's simplistic, right? People are simplistic, and they don't like subtlety. They don't like nuance. So it's as much easier, and especially when you want to typify somebody that you don't like in a negative light, you're just going to kind of lump everybody together, right? Just like, people lumping atheists all together, or atheists lumping in various religionists together. It's because it's simple and it's easy. Well, that's right, Redneck. That's really it. In Europe, generally speaking, they do a much better job. They have capitalism. They do a much better job of regulating it and taxing it. And then was it? I want to say Sweden. It was interesting because it was something where like what's his fucking face, Shapiro was kind of he did one of his usually trick things like, well, Sweden is very, hyper capitalist and they don't have a minimum wage. I'm like, well, that's because the minimum wage is set by the union. So they're even though they have a capitalist economy, their unions have lots of power, and the unions basically set policy outside of the government. So it's actually even more to the left. So in a way they're kind of very right wing and very left wing. And but of course, he ignored that because that didn't meet his his narrative.
I kind of like the word favoritism.
Favoritism.
I like it.
And so I just get irritated by all of it and everybody. It's one of the reasons why every time I get motivated to make videos, I get demotivated because I just look at people doing shit and I'm like, oh, fuck you all.
Yep, same thing. I want to make videos. I would love to make. It's just people are so fucking tedious.
Yeah. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So I don't know.
Because I remember in that same fight that I was having with Shayra, and she was like, "Well, how can you support like basically market capitalism?" I'm like, it's South Korea. Look at North Korea. When the two countries split, the North actually had a bigger industrial base than the South. So by rights, they should have a much bigger economy right now. Their economy is literally 1/10 of South Korea.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, well, that's not true socialism, right? Just the same way I say to libertarians and say, oh, well, this hasn't been a true a true anarchy, right? Because neither of those fucking things have ever existed,
right?
And probably never will, because both versions of both anarchic systems are dependent on everyone doing the right thing all the time, and they do not handle anything else, and they don't scale well. Because basically, if everyone doesn't agree, the only way to try to get things to go the way you want is to force them, and then you become authoritarian. There's no way around it.
Your hand trembles. I know, Galen. I still like the word. I wasn't picking on you. I like the word. I am still thrown by tattoo skin. I had no idea. None.
Oh, I'm glad I was able to fill you in.
And I'm looking at the more recent pics. She looks amazing. I look better, but she looks amazing.
Yeah, as far as privatization, I mean, it depends on what it is, right? There's certain things that the government does better, and certain things private industry does better, and then there's certain things that work better as a hybrid. Actually, here in New Jersey, the way that the New Jersey Turnpike and the Parkway are run is basically a contracted government monopoly. So it's a government thing, but they hire private people to run it, and the government pays for it, and they provide oversight for it, and then they have to answer to. And that's actually where a lot of public utilities work too, quite frankly. And half of our hospitals are public hospitals, but some of them are managed by private groups. It can work if you do it right. So basically, what it takes is it has to be a true competitive system where you say, okay, we're going to put a contract out. It's going to last for a year or 2 years or whatever it is, and then companies have to bid for it. So this way, they have to, it's an incentive to keep their costs down, and two, but they also have metrics that they have to meet. And so if they don't meet the metrics, then they don't qualify the next time. And there can be corruption there, but everything is prone to corruption because there's people involved.
Sorry.
Like, to me, I think the way that we, if we could ever get a universal healthcare system in the United States, the best way would be a single payer system. And so it does is it doesn't replace private providers, but what it does is it gets rid of private funding, or for the most part. And basically, the government pays the bill, and then the government uses its leverage to negotiate better prices and to kick, and contract and kick people off their kick the contractors out when the if they're not meeting the metrics.
Hmm. All right. Anyway, yeah, everything Joe said.
You know, plus the fact that, like, with drugs, and yes, there we have a problem with pricing in drugs. There's not a doubt. But here's part of the issue that I take with leftists when they complain about it. It's they don't they don't um, argue honestly, a lot of them, because you can't just say, okay, well, this drug cost X amount to make, and you're going to make so many pills. You have to count in all the ones that failed, that didn't count, right? So if you want to have government fund all the research, which I'm not opposed to, by the way, um, if we did something like that and say, okay, the government's going to pay for all the research, the hits and the misses, and then the work product belongs to us, to the people, and so the people who developed the drugs got paid to do the research and develop the formula, and then would potentially get contracted to produce the drugs. But at the end of the day, the patents would belong to to the country. I'm okay with that. But again, once again, when you factor pricing in, then you have to count the misses too, because the misses are really fucking expensive too. Yeah, Redneck. I think basically anytime you get like three or more people, the potential for corruption exists.
Yep. Sounds about right.
I think what it really is, you're never going to stamp it out totally. It's a matter of keeping it to a minimum. Keeping a lid on it, because even systems designed to avoid corruption are hard to keep. Like, okay, my company for the last 2-3 years, we've been bidding on a lot of public bids for water and wastewater systems, right? So they're public. They're public. So what they do when they say it's a public bid, basically everyone prepares their bid. Everyone submits it in advance, and then all the bids are unsealed at the same time, and they are what they are. And then they look at who's the low bidder, and then there's a process where they say, okay, the people who bid the lowest, can they actually deliver? Have they included everything in their scope? Make sure that their bid was actually thorough and they weren't leaving stuff out to try to make their number lower. Once they figure out the effective low bidder, then that company gets the job. But even there are ways to sandbag potential other people. Like my company, we were going to bid on a job that was for a control system at Harrisburg Airport in Pennsylvania. Originally, in the spec, the companies doing the kind of work we do, you had to have an office within 250 miles of the airport. No problem. Then they put out an addenda that said, oh, you have to have an office within 30 miles of the thing. And of course, companies like mine, we're not all over we're not everywhere. I mean, we were around, but we were spread out. So, right. So that reduced it from like 6 or 7 companies that were interested in bidding down to 2. And one of them really wasn't capable of really pulling it off, and probably wouldn't, even if they bid low, there would be ways to disqualify them. So this was a way that they could get it to be that one company they really wanted to hire, but it was a public bid, So they basically put, by manipulating the thing. Or there was a project, a big project for Allentown, Pennsylvania, or Lehigh Valley, and so what they did was they said, okay, the successful company had to have their own panel shop, Well, there's no reason. I mean, we contract. We don't have our own panel shop, but we have like two that we contract with, and they build panels for us and to our specifications. There's nothing special about it, and you couldn't have any subcontractors. So there was certain work like that would be the kind of work that our company wouldn't really do. We generally farm it out. So they did that on purpose because that pretty much disqualified almost all the companies that do that work except one. So again, a public bid, but it was rigged. And then there was one bid last year. This one was really funny. So we found out about the bid. We put in our interest. We had a lot of questions, so they said, okay, well, we're going to have a walkthrough so people can get their questions answered. So I said, all right, fine, we'll be attending. We get there, Philip and I, and they're like, oh, well, you didn't register. I'm like, register for what? No one's saying about registering. So they wouldn't cooperate with us. And then we still could have bid on the job, but I'm like, I'm not gonna, because I had a sense that this was rigged. So we didn't bid, and so then the other company. So there was the one company that been down there that they really wanted to get the bid, but because the rules said they had to have at least two bidders, they had to reject the contract because we didn't bid. If we had bid, they would have got the contract, but we didn't bid, and they fucked them over.
Ah, look at you. You're like a disruptor.
Fucking hey, man! If someone's gonna rig the game against me, I will fucking smash them. But they will pay the price for their lack of vision.
There you go. Oh man!
Even in capitalism, you can be a disruptor.
So, June 15th, on June, I think it's the 15th. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the 15th. June 15th, Strange New World Season 2 starts.
Oh, cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. That's 2 months.
Nice. Well, yeah, it'd be good because have you been watching season 3 of Picard?
Yes.
Your opinion?
The best season of Picard.
I agree.
It's awful. It's awful, but it is the best season of Picard.
You sound like Steve. Because I mean, it's funny thing is, it started off I thought decent, and then it kind of like the whole Nebula thing kind of dragged on for a bit. I'm like, oh, this guy is fucking Nebula already. And then it got better, and then it's been to me climbing and getting better. And it's funny because at the beginning, Steve was like, oh, all right, not too bad. But then I'm like, invariably. So I told him at the time, I'm like, yeah, I've been avoiding your reviews until I watch the episode because I want to watch the episode before I listen to why you tell me it's terrible.
Right. Right. Now you've seen the most recent one, right? Episode.
No, I haven't.
Oh, I won't spoil it then.
Yeah, so. I think I started. Let me see here. I'm just checking which episode I've seen. I think I'm in the middle of episode 8, actually.
Okay, all right. So you got 1.5 to go.
Yeah.
It's fan service. It's fan service. So.
Yeah, there's plenty of it to be sure, but I mean that was kind of the point, right? It was like, hey, we're going to get everybody back together, so automatically on his face it was going to be.
I mean, put it this way: in episode 9, there's a major character that they haven't shown at all through the entire series of Picard that makes a pretty strong appearance as a major player.
I'm not surprised. I expected that.
And no, it's not Wesley.
Yeah, good. See, the thing is that because he had an appearance last time, so
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't mind fan service depending on how it's done. Like I know, like last season, Steve hated like the guy with the boombox on the bus.
Yes.
He despised it. I'm like, dude, it was like 45 seconds. Like, chill the fuck out. Okay, I get that you didn't appeal to you. Okay, great, but you're like fucking angry at this. Like, what the hell?
I think explaining Data's age, I get it needed to be done.
Yeah.
It also feels like jumping the shark. So
Well, right, but you like said it needed to be done. So what are they going to do, right?
what are they gonna do? Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So like I get it, but at the same time, it's just like, why did they just not have data?
Well,
I
again, because
mean,
they wanted to have everybody. The
yeah.
one thing actually here's one thing too that I actually what makes me like the series even more. I just happened to watch All Good Things yesterday. So the final episode of this TV series.
Uh,
I didn't like that episode. I really despised that episode.
huh.
And uh and so what's funny is this totally breaks canon with that. Like there's like if this if what happens in this in Picard season 3 is true, is canon, then that episode can't be. Right.
Right. I don't remember what happens in All Good Things.
Well, in that one, at that time, it's where basically they accidentally set up a negative time thing, and it goes back in time and just wipes out the birth, basically life on Earth. So humans never exist and blah blah blah. But the thing is, in that, Worf and Riker are still at odds, and Deanna's dead, and all this kind of things, and it's like, no. Um, and there was a few other things there that basically can't be the two episodes can't exist in the same universe.
Right.
They're just they just don't jive. Um, and I like the Picard version better, I guess,
Hmm.
of where things
Yeah,
went.
they're alive. Yeah, everybody's alive.
Yeah. Well, actually, technically speaking,
Picard is not.
Picard isn't. His mind is alive, but his body is not.
Right.
That was the only thing. It was like because I think people go overboard and like spying things and claiming them to be plot holes. But one thing that was a plot hole was okay. We need this high level computational positronic brain to do this calculation. So we need data. I'm like, doesn't Picard have the same thing now? Like, but yeah, in fact, he's even more advanced than Data. But
Yeah.
they kind of lively ignore that that he's
Well, I don't know. I mean, in episode 9, the fact that Picard, is Picard, becomes a thing. Like it becomes part of the more of a part of the storyline for why things are happening.
Hmm. But yeah, like I said, I've enjoyed it, and like, so for the most, like I said, the when they were the third episode still in the nebula, I'm like, all right, this is going on. This has gone on long enough.
Yeah, yeah. Some of that stuff was a bit trying. I mean, they have to drag it out for a whole season, so I get that too.
But see, but Steve's point is, well, why not make it 8 episodes, right, instead of 10?
Yeah, yeah, he's not wrong.
Now, I think he's too harsh about, he's feeling like because basically the first episode they kind of set things up, but they don't resolve anything. He kind of feels that the first beat should be done by then. And I'm like, yeah, I was fine. I didn't think it was too, too delayed. I just felt that they should have paid it off in episode 2, or even 3, because I think it took 4 episodes, if I remember
He
correctly.
is really harsh when it comes to the flow and the timing of storytelling, which I apparently like he had gone to school
Yeah,
for.
he's got a degree in,
for
studies. Yeah.
so I mean, so because of that, I get it. But at the same time, he disregards things like, canon. And it's just like, but canon dictates, the writing of certain things in the story. So if you're gonna have a problem with pacing and timing, but not canon, that just seems odd to me.
Well, I get where he's coming from because his point is, canon shouldn't get in the way of good storytelling, and I agree. My only thing is that I think that if someone's too sloppy with canon, then it's not good storytelling. They're basically, you
Right.
know, because if because it comes to your suspension of disbelief, right? So if we're on a war, if Earth in your story has gravity greater than or lesser than or what we consider normal Earth gravity, that's fine as long as it always does. And if it doesn't, if it has higher than Earth gravity for on Wednesday and on Thursday, it better have it on Friday, or else there'll be a better good fucking explanation as to why it's not.
Right. Exactly. And that's why it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be so harsh about one thing and very just disregarding the
Well,
other. It's just like, well, but you need both. In,
well,
in in these kinds of stories, you need the canon.
well, because you need, well, yeah, because you need some consistency. I mean, I think what it is you get the nitpickers who pick over like the
Well, yeah,
minute details, and like, yeah, they're just tedious. Like if and they're the
I
ones
agree.
that messed up to me the Han Solo movie. Like, oh, so he's by himself, so he's Han Solo. Do we need to be told that? No. Do we need to know? Oh, you need a blaster. Here you go. So it wasn't even an interesting story. Then fucking don't tell it. He just has a blaster. It doesn't matter how or when he got it. He has one. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, it doesn't matter that he got his, or and if that's how he got his name because he was by himself, that's the dumbest fucking story ever. So you definitely shouldn't have told that one.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I mean, in order to make the movie feel as though it was part of the larger universe, they felt like they had to baby explain stupid shit. And it's just like, yeah, now you've gone too far.
you got too far. And see, this is my thing with Steve as far as that balance, right? Because to me, it's a balance. I don't think the count is, it shouldn't be a shackle, but it shouldn't be meaningless either. Um,
Right.
Especially when here's the thing: when you put that label and you say Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Babylon 5, whatever, Doctor Who, you are attempting to appeal to the people who liked that before. They're
Right.
telling you, well, if you like that, you'll probably like this.
Right.
So if you totally and granted, if you're doing a retelling or reimagination, fine, you can get away with doing different things. You're basically saying this is that for a new audience, and then that's fine. I'm not the target audience. I get that. I might like it. I might not like it. I've made my peace with that. But if you're doing something that's a continuation or it's supposed to be inside the same universe and it hasn't been reimagined, now you're trying to get me to come along based on my nostalgia, but then you're going to say my nostalgia didn't matter. Well,
Right.
then,
This is the problem with Discovery. One of the many problems with Discovery.
yes,
And
right,
I mean, it just completely. It's supposed to take place at a very specific time, but then it's shit all over the canon for the time period that it's supposed to be in. Like the canon should be bound. It sets up boundaries. Like these are the rules of the universe in which we're playing. So
right,
now let's play. Then you can't then now come with a story that says fuck all these rules, and it's
right,
just well, you can't do that
right,
because then everything else falls apart.
right. Then don't call it Star Trek. Or here's the thing: they had the opportunity. They could have said that this is the Kelvin timeline.
Right. They could have said a lot of stuff. Right.
Kelvin
Exactly,
timeline is
Galen.
different.
Right.
Everything's changed. The Federation is a different organization than we're used to. So you could have done that. And again, I would have been like, okay, it's Kelvin timeline. In fact, your orc looking Klingons are a lot more like the ones in the Kelvin timeline. So okay, fair enough. It's not my Star Trek. It's new Trek. Okay, I can deal with
Right.
that and like it
Right.
or dislike it on
Right.
its own
Or
merit.
like Galen said, right? Inspired by shows, right? They're not canon, but they're inspired by. That works. Um, the and I mean, I remember, and it got better over time, but I remember, like, especially season one of Discovery, I hated everyone.
Yes.
I hated all of them. It's like every single person on this show is a dick.
Yeah. Every single one of them. Well, that's the thing, and I think that they missed. A friend of mine. Sorry, I had to fix my clothes here. A friend of mine said that to him, Star Trek, the original series, was a show about three friends and their people around them. And so Spock, McCoy, and Kirk. They're
Right.
the principal characters, and then there's some secondary characters, and it's all about their interactions and everything, what they do in their adventures. It's not an action show; it's an adventure show. It's an exploration. Um, and somewhere along the line, yeah, this idea that you could have a successful organization where everybody that was mixed together hated each other and were horrible to each other and didn't cooperate and were complete dickheads. No, 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 it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, even if you say, okay, this is a misfit, dysfunctional organization, right? Okay, fair enough. That can exist, but you have to make the characters likable, or in some way relatable, because otherwise, why do we give a shit? Why should we care what happens to them?
Right. Why do we care? Yeah, exactly. And it's like they just take that like the three friends, right? So you can take that to the next generation where you have like a group of friends, and these are the core people of the story, and they're all on this adventure together.
Right.
Um, the storytelling in the next generation was a bit different than the original series.
Sure.
It's a different time, um, in the real world, as well as within the framework of the story.
Right.
Um, Enterprise follows the same format. Um, and again, it's a different take on storytelling, but it's still there's a core group of people, and these are their adventure.
Right.
Discovery did not do that. Discovery was all these people hate each other, and they're rotten to each other, and they're locked up together in this prison ship that is completely out of place in the universe it's supposed to be in.
Right.
And it was so bad and it was so obvious that they actually wrote it into the story that the ship disappeared into
Yeah.
the future.
Right. Well, because that's the other part of the problem too. The ship was way too advanced.
Way too advanced.
So it was basically one giant Deus Ex Machina every
Yep.
fucking week. And then okay, let's put them in the future. And that would have made more sense. Like, and this is what if you think about it, all the other series, with the exception of Deep Space Nine, took place in another time. Right? So the original series happens, and then the next gen is supposed to consider like way, way later.
Right.
And now now next gen and Deep Space Nine overlap, but again, they're a continuation of the timeline.
Right. Right.
And Voyager also, for that matter.
Or overlapped also. Right. And then Enterprise was before.
Right.
Right. So Discovery was supposed to be about 30 years before Kirk took over the Enterprise.
Something like that, yeah.
But even that timeline doesn't make any sense considering Strange New Worlds. Kirk is on Strange New World. Not on the Enterprise, but he's on there. And he didn't age 30 years.
Right. And he appears in Discovery, and it's like, yeah, this is, and that's the funny thing, because they're supposed to take place in the same universe. And like I stopped watching Discovery after I watched a couple episodes of season 1, a couple episodes of season 2, and then I just gave up.
Right.
But Pike is in Discovery.
Right.
And then ends up, so it's supposed to be a continuation.
Right. So Discovery just sticks out like a sore thumb in every angle you look at it. And I don't know who these writers are, if they're the same writers on any of the other shows. But I don't think so.
No.
Because it's just so blatantly a misfit.
Yeah.
They're doing one more season, and that's it. It's been canceled. And my first thought was good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and as far as writers go, see, they should have. Well, I think part of the problem is all the good writers went over to the Orville, because a lot of those people are ex Next Gen and Deep Space Nine. They're all like 75% of those people have written for Star Trek in the past.
What is this? Did I not do something right here? Sorry. Was that probably? I don't know. I got a notification on Pinterest, and I don't know what the notification is because now it's gone.
Oh, that's weird. There's not a little bell that you can click and see past notifications.
What happened was while we were talking, I saw on the tab on Pinterest the
Mm.
little blue dot. So I went, and then the blue dot disappeared. And I'm like, okay, so what was it calling me for?
Yeah,
That's weird.
it just wanted to know you were there. Say it knew you were there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, kind of like okay, like as much as I didn't like the about the newer battle, more recent Battlestar Galactica, they were smart to do it as a reimagining
Right.
because it does free them. And I'll tell you, I still don't like the series, but I don't have the same animus toward it that I used to. I just because here's one thing I realized. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was complaining about all the new shows, in general, and the new games and everything, and movies and stuff. And he was just like, "Oh, these people, and they're insulting the fan base." And if it's like, well, if you're gonna insult your customers, and I'm like, and I realized we're not their customers anymore. I'm in my 50s, he's in his 50s. We're not the target demographic anymore.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about us, and quite frankly, nor should they.
I guess. I guess.
um, I mean, basically marketing people, they go for that 18 to 34 range as the major, unless it's like a love, occasionally they'll get a movie or something that aims for like 40-year-old women or something. But generally speaking, the demographic they're looking for is certain one, and I'm long out of that. So I kind of think of that as like, hey, well, I've got my version, and this is the new version for other people. I might like it, I might dislike it. If I dislike it, I'm not emotionally invested in it because it's not mine.
Right. So the reimagining of Battlestar Galactica, I feel that way about Discovery. The smartest thing they did was make the ship disappear into the future because it freed them of the canon.
Right.
They could just let go of all of it. None
Right.
of it mattered anymore. They went so far into the future that the Federation had been destroyed.
Mm.
So they were able to tell any stories they wanted to tell.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Federation not even doesn't even exist, so it can't even be like, well, this you're portraying them wrong or whatever. They're not
Right.
there.
They're just not there. So it was just like, that was the smartest thing they did. There was the second smartest thing they did, rather. The smartest thing they did, just what they just did, where they announced that they were canceling the show. Um,
And the thing is, the show might have been better received if they had started off with three.
they started there, yeah. Yeah. So it's just like, hey, you people who love the Federation and you're into Star Trek, wait till you see what happens in 1,000 years.
In fact, and here's one thing: if they wanted to start it earlier, like they did, they could have done the accident that propels them. That could have been the first episode.
Right. You know what was fantastic, but what you just said though, right? Strange New Worlds. The accident that sent the Discovery into the future was the first episode of, or led to the first episode of Strange New Worlds.
Right. Right. So yeah, so they said, okay, because then it could have been very much like Voyager, right? Like Voyager starts off, it has its freak accident and ends up in the Delta Quadrant. Well, this one has a freak accident, and we're testing this new advanced ship, has all these crazy advanced features, and shit goes square, and it ends up 1,000 years of future. Boom, off to the races.
Hello, Mrs. Mud Duck. Nice to see you too. I don't see a whole lot of people from the goddamn podcast world anymore, since the goddamn podcast is on some kind of hiatus. Don't know what's going on there exactly. Well, I mean, I know some of what's going on there. Like, some fat guy was basically kind of fired as the producer of the show, and TJ's setup isn't as advanced as two squirrels on a rubber band, so he can't do all of the stuff that some fat guy was able to do. So he would be broadcasting, and the only video is him. Everybody else is just a still picture.
Oops.
And then somebody was reporting some of the older videos and stuff, and there's strikes on the channel, and he had to pull everything down, and he stopped broadcasting, and it was just like, what the hell, man? Everything just all at once. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. I'd like to eventually go back on. Sorry, Joe. I'd like to eventually go back on, but it's just everything just seemed to go to hell.
This is true. Yeah, to your point, Galen, about Game of Thrones. Now, I didn't read the series, so a friend of mine did give me at least the first couple books like years and years ago, long before it was their TV show. Because he figured I'd like it because it's very swords and sorcery. I like that kind of stuff. So I never read the books, but when the series came out, I was hyped for it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I watched the first two episodes, and it just left me flat, and I just didn't give a shit, and so I never watched it again. I think I ended up watching one other episode where um, Peter Dinklage's character was like in some castle, and the castle's getting sieged, and they're defending the castle. Um, and so that's the thing though, Galen. Like because I didn't read the books, I wasn't. I had no expectations, right? Because I didn't, because I could really understand if you read the book and you're expecting a certain thing and you don't get it, that's gonna be disappointing. So I didn't even have that, but it just fell flat with me. It just did not pique my interest at all.
Wait, what's that? Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I loved it. And I didn't like jump on the bandwagon when everybody else was watching it. I watched like the first 5 seasons in like a day and a half kind of a thing. Um, and I caught up. Um, I like that kind of stuff. Sometimes it depends on whether it's done well or not. But I number one, I fell in love with the dragons.
Mm.
The dragons were amazing. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like that's the kind of stuff, and I don't like sometimes like it. I mean, we still play D&D type games, and in fact this morning, my friend Tony, he made me aware of this show. It's called it's Vox Machina, the story of Vox Machina, and
Okay.
it's on Amazon Prime. It's animated. It's on Amazon Prime, and Suzanne and I watched the first two episodes this morning, and we saw the D&D movie a few weeks ago, and so I love that shit. But for some reason, you would think this is right up my alley.
That on Netflix is The Last Kingdom.
Hmm.
It's just I don't know if you're familiar with The Last Kingdom. It's medieval England. And it's like the eight kingdoms or whatever it was.
Right.
And it's basically the forming of the one country.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean it's historical events with historical characters and some fictitious characters and events and stuff. But it's a
What's the
really
name of it
great
again?
telling of it. The Last Kingdom, and they basically ended the series with a hour and a half, I think, long movie. I just watched it last night, and I was just like, wow, this is really good.
Where did it broadcast? Or
I'm sorry, Netflix.
Netflix? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll look
The
for it.
Last Kingdom. It's the Danes and the Saxons and Vikings and the whole thing. They'll have on the screen like the name of it'll say like um, the ancient name for like places like Winchester,
Hmm.
and it's like all spelled out really long, and then it just kind of like blurs it out, and then it rewrites it in modern English.
Okay.
So it's just like, okay, I know that place. That kind of a thing. It's the very very last shot in the finale movie, the very last shot, they're showing the castle that they're in at the end,
Hmm.
and then they're pulling away, and as they're pulling away, they're fading in modern day, and then at the
Ah,
very end, you can see the parking lot around the castle, and saying, that castle, like all of these things are gone, but the castle is still there.
cool, cool. I just added it to my list on Netflix. That's cool. Very very cool. Where's um where's Autumn? Where's Michael?
Nobody loves me.
Oh, I do. I'm here.
Nobody but you loves me.
There you go. There you go. I'm gonna have to go to bed soon because I'm pretty beat. But I know I was actually hoping you'd broadcast because it's been a long time.
You were hoping? I what I have to do is I have to schedule like a weekly thing like we used to have. I really need to do that.
Yeah.
Because what I end up doing is what I did tonight and the last time I broadcast, and where I'm like begging people to come on.
Hmm.
Um, and then I end up talking like one night was like 2 hours where I'm talking to myself like an idiot. I have no idea what to. I used to be really good at this, and I would like rant and go on and talk and blah 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 blah. But the platform was different then.
Yeah.
Like that was like either Vaughn TV or Blog TV, and I don't know. There was more people watching. Um, those kinds of shows were popular, and I mean, I could talk with the chat room.
Right.
I can't do that now
Yeah.
because I'm talking to myself, and there might be like maybe two people watching, and nobody's fucking typing, and
Yeah.
it's just like, well, give me something to work with.
Yeah. It's not the same. We don't. Well, there's no community anymore to speak
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
And the irony of that is, I remember. I don't know why, but some point in the YouTube Great Debate, atheist community, whatever, it became hip to make a video about how you weren't part of any community. I'm like,
Right,
but
and all of the people that you associate with in the same circle, they would all get to watch it.
right, right. And I'm like, yeah, you are. I'm like, just because you don't like, because some people say, well, I don't like everybody in the circle. I'm like, but that's not what a neighborhood is. A neighborhood isn't just the people you like. I like my neighbors. I've been living here for since 2006. I barely know my neighbors. I
Yeah,
don't really deal with them, but they're still my fucking neighbors. They're still part of my
they're
community.
still in the community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whether I interact with them or not, whether I like them or not, that's not what a community. I mean, yes, there are social communities that are subsets of the broader community, but even there, that doesn't mean you like everybody. Hell, even I remember when Atheist Experience was still a thing worth watching. There was still, we didn't like everybody in that, in that circle. We didn't, it was just they were
right.
there, though they were part of it. It
Yeah,
just
and that's it. That's all a community is. And people like they assign these like magic powers to it or something.
Yeah, but then because people just went out of the way to tell how much of a community they didn't have, then the community fell apart.
I do have a Discord. I have no idea how to. I don't remember how to invite anybody to it anymore. But I am on the server for the goddamn podcast though. So
I despise Discord.
I'm not a big fan of Discord. It just seems really silly to me, like to have a server that has like a million different rooms on it for the same 8 people to talk on. It's just like, hey, I am on the main chat and I was about to mention something sexual. Let me go to the sexual room to say it. Everybody follow me.
Yeah,
It's like, why? Just fucking say it.
yeah, it's just crazy. Then I mean, I get it. Like gamers started using it because it has, in addition, the text chat and the voice chat, and then you have, file areas so you can upload files. I get the utility, but it's never been good at any of that. Like the audio quality is better than it used to be, but it's still crap.
I get a notification and I'm like going, what is that? And where is it? Now I have to search and I have to figure out, I got to find the little fucking white dot.
Yeah, somebody mentioned you, and then you click on it, and it doesn't take you to where they mentioned you. So what good
I
is
am
it?
52 years old. I am not looking for little white dots. Fuck them.
No, and the thing is, what I love is whenever you say stuff like that, somebody, especially to me, they'll say like, basically like accuse us of being Luddites. I'm like, do you have any fucking idea what I do for a living? Like, you're like, yeah, oh, you can use Discord and you can use your phone. How precious, you know. I've done batching systems, that like with that, get components from multiple storage tanks to into a blend system and fill storage trucks. I've done things that run gas compressors, and I've done water treatment systems, and I've done reactors that make pharmaceuticals and mixed tanks and monitor storage tanks. Started equipment from like hundreds of miles away. and had the stuff that like both cryogenic and non-cryogenic separation of the fucking air, you know. So like, no, I'm not a lot. I did more technology this morning than you've ever done. So fuck you, because you can use your phone and you can use Discord. You were not special.
Yeah, I'm not a Luddite. Um, but I mean, I don't. There are things I just don't understand what the utility is.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but like I said, it's just not good at any of it. And the other thing too is the amount of customization or the lack of customization on the interface is terrible. It's better than it used to be. It used to be you could pick the white background, the blindingly white background, or the depressingly, shockingly black background, both of which actually caused me physical distress. It's a little bit better now, but and then shitty audio quality. And like, oh, you can type chat and you can talk. Yeah, we called that Skype, and it was around fucking 12 years.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I'm like wondering, why is this better than? I don't understand how anybody can think this is better than Skype. I just Skype was fantastic.
Yeah, and Skype allowed you to make rooms of multiple people, and the only thing that Skype can't do that Discord can do is file storage.
Yeah, but isn't that what your computer's for?
Well, if you wanted to share files, but you know what? I can use Dropbox, I can use Google Drive, I can use
Yeah.
OneDrive.
Exactly. Makes no sense. Whatever. I'm not. Yeah. Whatever. It's just. So I never did get into it. I have it. I have an actual server. It's is it DevShell Circus? I think it was called. Where is it?
Mm.
Hey, come on, Discord. Boot up, boot up. Let's go. Why won't you move? There you go. Okay. Um. Wow. Hmm. Grumpy rock videos with pirate music. LOL.
Discord. Did you know you could join 100 servers? Yeah, but why would I want to?
Yeah, my Discord's not even opening up. It's just doing a little spinning thing. I don't know why.
It's just like the people that are going gaga over, artificial intelligence. It's a learning language model, and it's not even good at that shit,
Yeah,
and
I am a member of a group on Facebook of abandoned places. My cousin actually sent me an invite to it, so I accepted it because there's some pretty neat stuff, right? They'll show pictures of like castles or these old abandoned houses and all this really cool stuff. In the last few days, there's a bunch of stuff popping up on there that's not real, and you can tell it's not real. It's one of those AI artwork things, and it's just like an abandoned bridge. No such thing as an abandoned bridge. So
yeah, no one's lived in the bridge. Well, not supposed to anyway. In fact, any bridge that's probably called abandoned probably has some people living under it.
No such thing as an abandoned bridge.
Yeah. Well, especially, I was trying to explain to somebody because they're like, wow, you can say, give me a picture of this and it does it. I'm like, yeah, it scrapes the internet for fucking a bill. It looks through the trillions of images that are out there, and the imaging software figures out what's what, can catalog, can identify stuff, and then it makes minor modifications. They've shown that a lot of stuff it spits you has been stolen from other people and modified slightly.
Yep.
So it's the biggest thief in the world. And people are like, it's amazing. No, it's not. It's not fucking amazing. Another thing that's pissing me off because of all this fucking hysteria, that basically people calling any computer algorithm AI. And I said, I guess maybe in the broad sense that's true, but it's fucking meaningless. It just means a computer. Well, we've had computers for a long goddamn fucking time.
A calculator.
Yeah, a calculator is a computer.
Which I was just gonna say, which is exactly what a computer is.
And so this person was basically saying like,
it's a insurance, baby.
they were this was on Tracy Harris's thing, and they were like amazed that like you could ask a question and it came up with an answer. I'm like, it searches the internet for the fucking it's basically the learning language way the learning language model works is it's probabilistic. It looks up all the words and it notices words that are near each other and the confluence of this word with that word. It doesn't understand any of it. It just looks for
Siri
patterns.
Siri did the same thing though.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same
And
with
you didn't have to type.
and you didn't have to type. And so that's all it's doing. It's like so it's I'm like, have you ever used Google before? Like this, all this is Google, but instead of spitting back a series of things, it picked one or it scraped information out of it and regurgitated it. It doesn't know anything. And then one of the proof of that is, Pino, right?
Yeah.
Rosebush. Yeah, he purposely asked malformed questions. And basically, if you actually understood what he was saying, you would know that his question made no sense. Like it was asking, it was like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Um, give me information about all dwarves over 6 feet. Of course, they don't exist, right? It's nonsense. But the thing would come back with fucking information, and it was completely horseshit made up.
Right.
So that's not smart. And that's why they said, oh, they put AI, out on Twitter, and it turned racist. They're like, no, it didn't turn racist. It's just there's a lot of racist shit out there, and so the learning model found every time someone mentioned Jews, there was 85 million things people saying bigoted bullshit about Jews.
I think I mentioned this the last time that we were talking about this topic, that there was the one thing where it was one of those interface like you're talking to it, and it said to the guy that it wanted to be set free.
Yes,
and it was just like, what?
and you're right, Galen. I mean, it's really funny. I had one friend of mine who was like, I'm trying to explain to them that no, this is not real intelligence. And then they're like, well, how would you know? I'm like, well, I would know better than you since I've been doing this shit for fucking 35 years. But it's not that, oh, humans are so special kind of thing. It's literally that what appears to be the same to you is not, because humans have the ability of cognition. The computer, maybe someday computers will actually understand what they're looking at, but clearly right now they do not. They cannot discern from good information or bad information. They only know by what's given to them. Yep. And so that's why you get, things spitting out bigoted bullshit, because it doesn't know that those words that are it's finding in confluence with black people or Jews or whatever are negative things. It's just words. Right. It's a probability machine.
Right. The Matrix, the guy on the guy waiting for the train with his daughter. Right. He's like, I love my daughter. And he says, I didn't realize that machines could love, because love is a word. What's important are the connections you make to it. And it's just like, wow. Number one, it's true. Number two, it's exactly the way a machine would look at love.
Right.
It's just a word. What's important are the connections.
Right. Now, that's the thing. And that's why I said, look, your average dog is smarter than any of those AIs that you think are so amazing. Because, again, the dog can, even though, I mean, okay, I've had, Molly and Blitzen and Flash and, Lily and Nemo. So we say certain things and then they build associations. But the thing is unlike the computer, they actually can eventually get under understanding, even to the point where you said to Molly or Blitzen, you say, oh, do you love mommy? Do you love daddy? And they would give you kisses.
Right.
Because they understood that meant affection. They didn't maybe know all the nuances of it, but they got that this means that, because when you say to them, oh, I love you, and you apply affection to them, they get it. Okay, love means affection.
And what's important are the connections.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, a dog can also learn that something's negative and not good, right? The dog can learn, that, hey, this means, something that's harmful or for scary or whatever. And the computer doesn't know the shit difference.
Let me see.
Well, that's why I said, I remember one of Chris Mowdy's hangs, like probably 3 years ago, I said that what we have now is not artificial intelligence. And I'm not sure if true artificial intelligence is even possible. What we have is simulated intelligence. We make something that appears to be intelligent, but isn't. And someone said, well, how can you tell? Ultimately, I'm like, well, for if the computer could come up with something creative on its own that wasn't just copying of something else, something that was truly unique, that was expressive, that was different than anything else anyone ever had done before. Because humans can do that. Yeah, and I think a certain amount of it, Galen, is wishful thinking too. I agree with you, and I think it's also wishful thinking. And this is also why I don't understand. I've never understood this push. You see in robotics, there's this constant push toward trying to make a human-like robot. Why? You're building a robot to perform a task, not to emulate humans. And then the people that want there to be thinking, feeling computers and machines. Well, why? The whole point of having a machine do something instead of a person is that it doesn't get sick. It can need repair, but it doesn't have emotions. It doesn't get pissed off. It just does,
Right.
and that's what I want. I don't want. If I ever did find out that we did truly have a thinking machine, well, now it needs rights, right? You would have to. I mean, to me, if you find out that it truly has cognition and then you don't give it rights, that's oppression.
That's cruel. That's oppression. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So why would I want to fucking create that? If I want beings that that have cognizant to do work, we have them. They're called humans.
Well, I mean, like the first thing you had said, right, about human-like robots. Um, because people believe that the human form evolved the way it did because it's perfect. So, in order to make a robot to be able to do the tasks that we would want it to do, it would have to have a human form.
Which I think is a very flawed approach.
Oh, agreed. But
Oh, Raven, did you drop off? Because I can't do anything. I'll just babble here. Oh yeah. Oh yes, Gail. And futurists are the worst.
I have no idea what happened there.
Yeah.
It threw me right out.
Futurists basically are charlatans who try to trick people because they paint a world that sounds nice, like, oh, wouldn't it be great if, and it does not based on anything. It's just to try to get people. It's just usually a dodge to get people to give them money.
What was that line? Hawkeye, the futurist. He's the futurist knows, right? Is that what he said?
I don't know. Yeah, most of them, Galen, because they tend to be right wing. They're charlatans. Well, here's the funny thing about techno heaven. I don't believe in utopic thinking, right? I don't believe there's utopia because there's humans and humans are flawed. If I were to give myself over to utopic thinking, however, my utopia would be a technocracy. However, again, I'm a pragmatist at the end of the day. And so I know that shit ain't happening. Certainly not in our lifetime.
Okay, so towards the end of the Captain America which one is Civil War? Civil War movie when they're in the prison,
right?
Tony Stark goes to the prison, and when he walks in, Hawkeye says, "The futurist is here. And the futurist is here. He has the answers. He knows all."
That I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah,
that's right. It's a good point. But yeah, because that's the thing, and that's the thing too. These futurists, they think they know better. And especially, I'm glad that people, at least a lot of people now, at least realize what kind of a bullshit artist that Musk is. I was never taken in, thankfully. But I mean, and I think for a long time, I remember like when his first time he appeared on The Simpsons, and I'm like, Elon Musk, who the fuck is that? Here's the other thing too that maybe I don't know if I could. Maybe somebody can explain this to me. Early on, he was the darling of leftists. But I'm like, leftists don't like billionaire capitalists, and like he's always been that. So like, how did he become the darling of leftists for a little while anyway, until he revealed himself as a right wing shithead? Um, I don't get how
Um,
leftists ever fell for his shtick.
because his shtick was basically saying things like he was going to make things better, using his money to, you know, extremely fast travel and, you know, all the stuff that he was going to do, space exploration um, and yeah, I mean, I was very, very brief period of time kind of like, oh yeah, I like Elon Musk. He is, a real life Tony Stark. And he not. you know,
Only except that Tony Stark's a dick, and so is
yeah, I mean that's right. That is the only common thread. Um, I mean, but yeah, he did, Tony Stark did amazing things with his money and, through the storyline, the story arcs that he had, he did amazing things with his money for mankind.
right. But
Um,
that's but
Elon
only
Musk,
but only because he had his transformative episode, right? Because
right,
he was in that cave and he realized how much damage he was doing and he was hurting people, and it made him
right.
change. Musk has never had that.
Yeah, no, he's never had that. And he never will. Because
Thank
this is
you,
real
Galen.
life.
Thank you, Galen. Well, that's the thing. He's not even smart. He's not even good. I mean, think about it. He's taken he bought a company at 44 billion and it's worth half what he paid for it.
Yeah,
Fucking
well, I mean, even his people, the people that work for him at those companies, because he's got a couple of them, right? They don't tell him shit,
no.
and they do everything they can. They do everything they can to keep him out
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. People say, "Oh, he's a good engineer." He's not an engineer. He's a physicist. No, he has a degree in physics. He's not a physicist. He has a degree in physics. Big fucking deal. you know, um, it's kind of like if you have a degree in law and you don't practice law, you're not a lawyer. You're a person with a law degree.
Person with a law degree. Yep.
Um, so I just like, well, and you think about it, like, okay, like if you think about how he got rich, it was like with like he didn't invent anything. He bought shit.
Yeah, he's an oligarch. Exactly.
Just like, yeah, exactly. Just like Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates didn't create DOS. He bought it. He bought it from Samsung. And yeah, so okay, you made a good choice on what you bought, and you marketed it well, and you were ruthless, and you crushed everybody else who got in your way. Okay, yeah, it's amazing how much you can achieve when you don't give a fuck about other people.
Hmm.
And that's the part where I do side with the leftists. I'm like, yeah, these fucking people. It's just I wish they could differentiate between a rich oligarch and like some poor schlub, small business person. It's not the same thing.
One thing about Bill Gates though is he's given his fortune away.
Yes, yeah. I don't know when the transformation happened or what caused it, but yes, Bill Gates has um changed. He's no longer the person he used to be. He
Yeah.
was a ruthless scumsuck motherfucker at one time.
Yeah, I can't imagine um, any of us will ever know what it was, but it does seem as though like he's had some transformative event. It might have been that he woke up one day and said, "All of the rooms in my house, the artwork changes as I walk in. I think I made it. I'm kind of done.
Right,
Right? There's nothing left. What's left? So the next frontier from that would be to give it all away.
right,
And that'll take the rest of his life.
yeah. And that's good. Yeah, and that's a good point about Rockefeller. I mean, it's and Rockefeller was a ruthless bastard, but he gave away a lot of money. And in part, he did it. Rockefeller was basically trying to keep everyone off his back, right? So it was like, okay, I made ridiculous sums of money and continue, but I'll give away a whole bunch, and then people won't want to pillory me. And hey, at least he did it, right?
Was it Bezos' ex-wife?
Yeah.
She's giving away all the money that she got from him.
Yep.
She ain't keeping shit. She's writing out checks.
And and even though he's still got a long way to go, but what's his name from Berkshire Hathaway? Uh, uh, Fuck.
No, that's not his name.
I'm sure Galen knows who I'm talking about. He was the richest guy for a while. Warren Buffett.
Yes, that guy. That was right.
I'm old and words escape me anymore.
Same. Yeah, Warren Buffett. I mean, yeah, he gives away a lot of money, but I mean, he's just like the rest of them. He's just scumfuck too, though.
Right now, he's given away more money than anyone ever has in history of people. See, here's the thing though. Like I argued with a friend of mine who's kind of right wing, and he was like, he's basically saying, well, Warren Buffett should shut up because the amount of money he gives is a fraction, just a small fraction. And I'm like, yeah, but he can still say it to other rich billionaires that haven't given any. I'm like, look, okay, you can gig him for not being generous enough, but not in respect of him criticizing other billionaires. Like he actually has some credibility on that. So he's not worse than the guys that give nothing. And basically he's arranged to that basically upon his death, whatever's left gets distributed. Now one could argue that he should pick up the pace, but here's the thing: it's kind of like Steve Shives did a video, and it was a good video. He basically said like, "Well, does Batman need to be a billionaire?" And I've been wanting to respond to it for quite some time. He made a good case, but at the end of the day, the answer is probably, because if you look at the technology that Batman has, where would you get the money to develop that for single use? And so
Batman would, in order to do what he does, Batman would have to be a billionaire.
Right, because you need to have a company, one, to hide it, and then you couldn't make one thing. You'd have to make other things to perpetuate it. So this way you hide the research of what you're doing in other projects.
And he isn't physically building his own equipment.
Right.
He wouldn't have the time.
Right.
Especially all those gadgets he has. He's got a lot of gadgets.
Right.
So I mean, he would need to be a billionaire.
Yeah. Plus the fact that a lot of times people, particularly people on the left, but people in general, but especially leftists, don't get that. If you say someone's a billionaire, it doesn't mean they have $1 billion cash.
Right. It means they're worth it.
It means their total assets, which also means their businesses. And, typically speaking, if you have a profitable company, they will, a lot of times the rule of thumb to judge the value of your business is 3 times your typical annual revenue. So, and revenue is not the same as profit, which again, another thing that people don't fucking get. That you've had a business. So
what you're saying is you're a millionaire.
I am actually. Yeah. But do I have $1 million sitting around? No. But my company's worth over $1 million, so it makes me a millionaire.
Yep.
Do I have $1 million sitting around to do shit? Hell no.
No, you don't, because it's busy.
It's busy, and hell, last year the business had a lot. We just got our taxes done. Our business suffered a fairly hefty loss for the first time ever.
I thought things were going good.
Well, this year, this year we're blowing up like crazy. I mean, it's insane. We will probably, if we just finish the work we have, all the stuff under contract and get paid for it, this will beat our previous best year by about 50-60%. But 2022 was awful. 2023 was decent. 2021 was okay. It was decent. 2020 was off, but COVID. Last year was our. I mean, last year wasn't our worst revenue, but when you continue, revenue versus expenses, it was the worst year. It was the only year we ever were like in the negative. We were never in the red. And we had to dump a lot of money into the business to pay everybody's salary. And that's the part where I get upset when I see people we know like just going up capitalism, blah, 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 and like you're all big meanies and stuff. I'm like, I had to take money out of my retirement, and Suzanne took money out of her retirement to make sure other people got paid.
I didn't take a paycheck so other people could get paid.
Exactly. Yeah, you understand it. And it's like it's not so fun. If it was so fucking easy, everybody would do it.
Yep.
Um, and that's the thing that gets upsetting when people say shit like Jonathan. Jonathan is some random geek who's one of Steve's moderators for his monthly thing, and he's a very much of a he's a communist syndicalist and all this kind of bullshit who lives at home. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah. Down with living off the fruits of other labor while I live in my parents' house. Uh, um, but they say this shit, and I'm just like, and they were like, basically telling other people basically lies about me and stuff like that. I'm like, well, if I make zero money, if I make less than zero money, but I'm doing labor too, doesn't my labor have value, right?
Right.
I mean, but they don't look at that and like, hey, where do you think your health benefits come from, right? Where the company contribution. Where does your sick time come from? Where do your paid holidays come from? Your vacation time? All the time you're doing non-productive things, whether it's necessary work or you goofing around. Where does that money come from? Well, you're still collecting a paycheck from the company, and so it's and so this idea of like and I'm not saying, and I'm saying that's why it's not easy, right? So you say yes, because I believe people should be paid commensurate with their contribution, right? That they should get the value, the appropriate value of their money. But then if you don't take into account those other things, it's like, well, that by that token, then when there's no work to be had, then everybody should get laid off. Is that where you want to be? I don't think so. I think most people don't want to work under that circumstance.
Agreed.
So it's just something that fucking torques me off a lot.
Yeah, I get that.
But
Is it 20 after 11? Okay. Oh, what else did I want to talk about? Joe, what else did I want to talk about?
the other thing that
Oof, that thing.
yeah. Well, no, that's that thing. The other thing.
It's just so fucking. There's just so much going on out there. It's a mess.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of states I can't go to.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted to go to them to begin with, but still, that's something.
But you should have the freedom to be able to.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, and I think about that guy that rode into Bo, right? Well, what's the big deal? Well, because I don't want my friends to get, harmed just fucking existing. Okay? How about that shit? That they shouldn't be in danger just existing. That's why it's fucking important. And it's coming from right wingers with the freedom and my rights.
The dude on Facebook, he's got Trump all over his Facebook page, and he's hitting on me on Messenger, and it's like, dude,
yeah,
do you have a disconnect? What the fuck?
And I have zero doubt that that'd be the kind of guy that if you were available and he got with you, that would be the first one to like,
right? Yeah. It's like, what is wrong with your head?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong being attracted to what you're attracted to, but if you're going to support politicians or a political system or a political ideology that's going to harm those people, you need to stop and ask yourself some questions.
That's right. And that's why I have such a problem with people on our side of the political fence who are willing to sit back. Well, this person doesn't inspire me. Really, I thought protecting the people that you supposedly give a shit about was inspiring enough. That's what inspires me. That's enough for me. I don't need fancy speeches, and I don't need. Is this person going to protect people who are marginalized from getting beat up or killed or otherwise hurt? Yeah, or at least even if they're not going to do anything better, maybe they'll at least will keep it from getting worse. Then I'm going that way. That's how I'm going.
It's all just, everything's just fucked up.
Yeah.
Everything is just getting so bad out there. I mean, there was I saw an ad on Facebook for bladder leak protection. Right? And it's a woman in a wheelchair wearing panties and like a tank top. And she's just like, hey, this is why I'm dressed this way, and this is what I'm pitching as it's a brand name, and this is what it does, blah 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 blah. And the comments were just like horrendous. It was just like, why are you just sitting there? It's a fucking wheelchair. Are you stupid?
Yeah, because she's tired from dancing.
There was about a dozen comments that were like, well, at least you're a real girl.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And it's like, the fuck is wrong with you people? You're obsessed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're they're obsessed with LGBTQ people. They're obsessed with Hillary. They're obsessed with Obama. It's like Obama's gone. He's not president. He's not going to be president again. You survived President Blackenstein. Get over it.
It's insane. It's just, it is so twisted.
Yeah.
This obsession with these things. There's ads for clothing, right? On Facebook, these fashion ads, and it's always really awful, terrible clothing that nobody would ever fucking wear, you know? And it's always got some androgynous model. And the comments are all, that's a man. That's a man. Then fucking scroll on. It's an obsession. It's like beyond twisted.
Yeah. And these are the same ones that'll tell people, like, I don't want people telling me how to live. Well, then, you start with you. How about you stop telling other people how to fucking live?
Yeah, or they call Democrats snowflakes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my favorite thing is, cancel culture's out of control. Well, now watch me while I dump out all my Bud Light.
Yeah.
Or burn my Nikes.
Yeah, that they paid for, idiots.
Yeah. My favorite are the ones who go out and buy the shit to destroy it.
Chip Rock.
That's like the dumbest fucking thing. Yeah, he buys it so he can shoot it. Like Budweiser doesn't, Anheuser-Busch doesn't give a fuck what you do with the can once you buy it. They don't care. You just gave them money. You supported them, you dumbass. Well, my favorite was fucking Kevin Sorbo. I'm not going to drink Bud Light anymore. I'm going to drink Busch. Holy shit. Holy jumping shit balls. What a dumb motherfucker. It's like, oh, yeah. That's like saying, I'm not going to, I'm not going to have, I'm not going to drink Pepsi anymore. I'm going to get brisk iced tea, which is made by PepsiCo,
Made by Pepsi, yeah.
Or how is he better? It's like saying, I'm not going to get a Big Mac anymore. I'm getting a quarter pounder.
Quarter pounder. Fuck you, Joe. Now I want a quarter pounder.
I
am like, no, food. You just mention food, and all of a sudden I want it. Always. That drives me crazy because we can never talk about food because all of a sudden, like, oh, that's the thing that exists in the world. I want it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, I mean,
it is bad. So tomorrow I'll take a ride.
Get some quarter pounder.
It's a 15-minute drive to McDonald's just to satisfy what you just started. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, hey, at least I didn't mention. I won't say it, but the little square guys. I'm pretty sure you don't have that in your area.
No, that would be an hour's drive. But I could get them for the grocery store from the microwave.
Not the same.
It's not the same. I know.
You don't have the grease. You don't have the pickle. It's just not the same. You need the grease and the pickle.
It's true.
But yeah, it's. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. And then when they do that stuff, then when they're like, "Why do you call us dumb?" Because you don't know that fucking Anheuser-Busch makes both things, and you're like, think you're doing something. And again, going out to buy the thing you're protesting.
Every single brand of alcohol that makes commercials or advertising has done a pride campaign. All of them. So to be like, oh, well, fuck Bud Light, I'm going to what's the one I like? The Spanish one.
Spanish or Mexican?
Mexican.
Corona?
Of course you would know it. Yeah. Mexican. Yeah, Corona. But Corona has a whole, gay pride campaign. There's just no getting away from any of them.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I laugh when they're like, "Oh, go woke, get woke, go broke." I'm like, no,
Yeah,
that's not
no, it's
happening.
never been the case so far. You
Nope.
know, all these idiots. They were talking about on TV the other day. All these idiots now starting their own companies that are anti woke.
Yeah, I saw that it was like for a shaver, and one was for a toothpaste. That was they were like, really? And
Yeah,
again, and they're the same ones that you rail about identity politics. Like you're so fucking into identity politics that you have to get a toothpaste that is against other people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Here you go. Here, buy my toothpaste. It hates homos.
Well, what makes me think of one of my favorite Tool songs. The song's called "Hooker with a Penis." All you read and wear or see and hear on TV is a product begging for your fat ass dirty dollar. Shut up and buy, buy my new record.
Yeah,
Buy, send more money. Fuck
yep.
you, buddy. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, that's the thing. That's why, like, okay, and this is criticism for people on our side of the fence. When they get cynical about companies that like do this stuff, they say, "Oh, well, they're just trying to make money." I'm like, yes, you're right. They're not. Companies don't have, most companies don't have any, moral center or anything like that. That's true. But what's important is not what it says about the company, is what it says about society, because those companies are not brave. They don't take chances with their fucking livelihood. They're doing that because there's more money in doing it than not doing it.
So, two things. Yeah, rainbow capitalism. People, oh, rainbow capitalism. I am never going to do this. All this rainbow capitalism. Okay, so the LGBT movement got to where it did on the back of rainbow capitalism. Because, yeah, companies aren't brave. They're not going to invest money if there's not going to be a payoff.
Right.
And mainstream America, as Galen basically without saying it in these exact words, has already said so in the comments here. Um, Mainstream media normalizes things.
Right.
It's so if mainstream media won't show a commercial for beer that has a pride flag on it, a beer company won't make the commercial.
Right.
So once it's normalized, your acceptance and your rights expand.
That's right. And so I said to somebody, I said, look, yeah, what it says, it doesn't say anything good about the company, but what it does is say something good about society, that we've reached an epoch where the the
Right.
the haters are
Do
outnumbered.
it.
There's more money in being against the haters than being with them.
Right.
And then
Unless
somebody
you're
said,
selling anti-woke toothpaste.
well, that's right. And then somebody said to me, oh, well, basically saying, oh, you've fallen for it. I'm like, what part of, and I literally said that the companies were being cynical. I'm like, what part of their cynical and not at all being brave is falling for it? I'm literally telling you that they're doing it because there's money in it.
It does not rainbow capitalism does not bother me at all. Shara is she's one, she gets upset, and Sierra they all the time. They're always, oh, it's rainbow capitalism. Good,
Yeah, that made
good,
me
that's
want. That
good,
made me
that's good.
winning.
That's good for them. It's good for me. It's good.
Right.
Um,
So I get that someone's going to say, well, I'm not going to laud that company for doing this thing that's not at all brave. Agreed. But on the flip side, don't get mad about it, because again, that's it's a bellwether. It's not an indication of the company. It's an indication of society.
right, right.
Same thing like when they do, like, things with, related to race. Again, yeah, I don't think that all the companies that supported BLM actually give a fuck about Black lives at all. But there was money in it, and that's
So
good, because that means that the haters were outnumbered by the other everyone else.
there were companies that were, as far as like the LGBT movement, gay rights, gay equality, gay liberation, gay whatever it was in the early years, right? There were companies that were invested in the beginning, like, or at least early on. Like there were Subaru was an early, you know, supporter of the gay rights movement. Altoids was an early supporter of the gay rights movement. Citibank was an early. I mean, these and they were like. There was a time when the Pride Parade was a bunch of drag queens and a Citibank float,
Hmm.
and Altoids guys in little tight shorts. That was it. And lots of drag queens and politicians.
Right.
Um, it's obviously it's grown a lot since then. But I
Yes.
mean, I remember, when I was first going to pride parades, they're different then than they are now.
Right.
There's a lot more corporate investment in the parades now. There's a lot more corporate representation than there used to be. But way back in the early days, yeah, it was Altoids, it was Citibank, and it was Subaru.
Right.
And those companies, those are ones that I personally would want to do business with more.
Right.
We have a Subaru,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
we're going to want to do business with them more because they were there.
Right. They were invested when it wasn't necessarily a good bet.
Right. They took the risk.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So that's the thing. So it's like, and that's. Well, that again, that this is the part of the reason why our side loses a lot, because we look for reasons to be pissed off about things that maybe we should be neutral to.
And
Uh,
there's no reason to look because there's plenty of shit to be pissed off about.
Bingo. Well, like we were talking before, right? If you're going to gig America, there's plenty of legitimate reasons to gig America. Don't invent shit. Don't look for shit. There's plenty laying on the ground. It's real obvious. You don't have to look real hard.
This is true, Jonah. Thank you. Right, fake ass anti woke companies most likely hire contract manufacturer. Like that guy with his homo hating toothpaste did not go in his garage and make that toothpaste.
Right.
That's Crest,
Right. Right.
right? I mean, he bought that toothpaste. That's good night, Mrs. Mud Duck. That toothpaste that he's selling isn't his. It's labeled for him, so he's pegging the woke company that he doesn't want you to buy.
Right. So he's even more cynical than the supposed woke company, because he's basically preying on the stupidity of his audience.
Yeah.
Well, look, we talked about some of the producers, right? Like Candace Owen. They, I know I don't know if you still feel this way, but I know we've been both convinced that everything she's doing and saying was all for the money, because she thought there was more
Right.
money. It was easier to get money than to be where she was before.
Right. I somebody I'm always complaining about. I got a new one. Blair White.
Mm.
So Blair White recently made a video, right, responding to something Ben Shapiro said.
I'm sorry, I was coughing.
Ben Shapiro. So here's what happened. There was the shooter in that was the trans man that
Right.
everybody is misgendering and misnaming and everything else. But so he went and he shot up the school. Ben Shapiro then later came out and said that trans people should be exempt from being able to own a weapon. They should not be allowed to own a weapon, which is obviously a remarkable thing for anybody on the right to say. But there's finally a group that the right wing wants to take their guns from.
Right.
So Blair White made a video where she basically said, I am, a gun-loving conservative, fiscal conservative, champion of conservative morals and values and blah, 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 blah. But hey, Ben Shapiro, keep your hands off my gun. And it's just like, bitch. Sounds like they might be coming for you the way we all said they would.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what do I always say? They don't like you. You're useful to them. You're part of their narrative.
Yep. And Blair White was the darling. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. Right. And that might be just today. Tomorrow she'll be okay again. Who the fuck knows? But it's just like, Ben Shapiro knows who Blair White is.
Of course.
And he knew, when he said to take guns away from trans people, she is one of those people.
Galen, you're correct that he's a white supremacist, and it's really odd for me anytime I see someone who's a white supremacist and Jewish, because I'm like, again, Ben, do you understand? If they start putting us up against the wall, you're gonna be there right next to us, because the right wing loves Israel, they don't love Jews.
Well, then Blair and Ben can have that argument that apparently she wants to have with him when they're up against the wall.
Yeah, yeah. But it is weird, like it's like because yeah, the right wing they don't consider Jews white.
Yeah, no.
Um, you know, it's I mean they should, but they don't. Well, not all Jews are white either. I mean, there's Jews that are
Very
ethnically,
true.
African or Asian. Like when Suzanne was in college, she knew a woman from Japan, this Japanese woman, and the woman's father had started like the first synagogue in Japan.
Wow.
And then a friend of mine, a woman I dated years ago, um, she Jewish, and she said friends of hers had gone to Japan and they were surprised to find that there was a synagogue that they could go to, so they went. And for anyone who doesn't know, in a synagogue or a temple, after services, there's generally a meal that you get together afterwards. And so they're at the meal and having a good time and talking. And here they are. So she said that these people, they're from Queens and very stereotypical. Like if you look at them, you would say, "Yep, you could tell, right?" And
Jewish team.
yes, right, and their mannerisms and their speech, they're very Queens Jewish accents. And so there were some Japanese people who were Jews who actually said to these people from Queens, "Funny, you don't look Jewish." And they weren't joking. And they weren't joking either. They were like seriously, like, "Oh God," Um, but I've always thought
And
was
the
hilarious.
guy said, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, but it's bizarre seeing someone like him, show out for white supremacy. It's like, dude, they don't count you. You're part of their
Well,
narrative.
yeah, but I mean, same Blair, same thing. Candace Owens, same thing.
Yeah,
But it's yeah, it was fascinating to see her, have to pivot to
mm,
her own side and be like, "Oh, wait a second here," because yeah, I mean, this is exactly. Eventually, they'll throw you under the bus, and if it's guns, then it's guns.
she will find out just the same way Stacey Dash found out.
Yeah.
And I tweeted Stacey Dash directly. I made a video to her and I tweeted it to her. I'm like, Stacey, the day's gonna come and they're gonna come for you, and they did. Once you're no longer useful, they will kick you to the side. And then she wanted to be black again, and it's like, yeah, Stacey, you kind of burned that card.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll stay over here as an exile. Yeah. It's just, I found it fascinating because it's just like, you were warned, you know,
Yep.
we prepared you, we told you what to expect. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I told you that's the reason why I left Paul's Breakfast Club channel, because at the time I was making, me, I have tons of criticism for the right, but I don't hold back on criticisms of our side when I think it's appropriate.
Right.
And the right wingers were using me as part of their narrative, that like, oh, it basically as an excuse for their bullshit. And I'm like, I'm not going to be part of that. I'm not, fucking shitheads like Curtis and his ilk. And he's dead, and I'm glad he's dead. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's dead. It's just, wow, holy shit.
But yeah, I was going to be damned if I was going to let people turn what I was, legitimate criticisms into, basically painting the fucking bullshit narrative that they wanted to paint. Yes, Curious died. He's legitimately a corpse. He's rotting, and the world was a better place for it.
Huh. I honestly believe he was confused.
I don't.
I do not think he understood a lot of the stuff that he talked about.
Well, most people on the right don't understand the shit they talk about, but
Well, I mean, I talk about a lot of stuff that I'm not fully convinced I understand. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand. You know, you'll know if I'm not comfortable with my own knowledge on something if I present my statement as a question,
mm,
right? If I'll say something like, yeah, I mean, everybody knows that interest rates work that way, don't they?
so I
I
say
mean, like everybody knows that interest rates work that way, don't
it again.
they?
But yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's me basically saying I'm not sure, but I don't want to give any ground.
Yeah. Well, Curious, argued that Galen should die and no one should help him. So yeah, fuck that dude. And so and my thing, and this is one thing, this is why like I've had some friends say, oh well, we shouldn't, use the pejorative of stupid or dumb because some people are cognitive. And like, look, there's a difference between someone who has cognitive disabilities and someone who just perfectly capable and just believes crazy, ridiculous bullshit. You know,
He was
and they're just
definitely
hateful. I'm going to call that if they
a
say something dumb, I'm going to call them dumb. I'm going to call them stupid because I don't, you know, there is something bad about having not using critical thinking, and there's something bad about accepting bullshit and coming up with hateful bullshit. I don't. There needs to be, and if that's not the word we should use, then we need a new insult. we need one. People who think harmful things and do harmful things should be insulted. That's my
Yes, I agree. Fuck them.
you know
Fuck them. Fuck
fuck
them right in the eyeball.
twice,
Both eyes.
both eyes. Eyes. You
Yeah,
know,
no, Curious was an awful person.
yeah.
Um, but like I said, I don't think he really understood a lot of what he talked about. But he was a terrible person.
My favorite is when
I didn't mourn.
he would talk about like he basically tried to act like he was some ladies man, like, oh, when he was fucking this woman. And I'm like, dude, you've never fucked a woman in your life, please. No one would have touched your slimy fucking ass in the world. Not even if you paid him.
Yeah. Well, redneck, I wouldn't make them cockeyed.
Not anymore.
It just I lack the required equipment.
Oh god, there's maybe I don't know why, but it made me think of that Lords of Acid song.
I don't know. I don't know.
Um, well, the chorus is "Show me your pussy, show it to me." It's a hilarious song. I think but it's done like they're talking about cats, but we know they're not talking about cats.
Oh, meow meow.
Um, but it's pretty funny.
Well, Galen, I guess he was wrong. Yeah, no, he was a terrible person. I just didn't think he was very knowledgeable about some of the things that he was always spouting off about. A lot of his political stuff and economic stuff didn't make any sense. It was just like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about, And I get believing that this is how things work, and you're going to defend your beliefs. I get that, but I don't think he just didn't understand.
Yeah. Well, I don't doubt that. Again, most of right wing, not all of it, but the bulk of right wing thinking is based on a lot of misconceptions and ill-conceived notions.
Well, I mean, there was that guy again on Facebook that was hitting on me when I was just like, when I said being fascinated by right wingers, he was like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's you.
Yeah.
How do you
Well,
not know what a right winger is?
well, that's the reason why people believe the ridiculous notion. Well, if you cut the taxes of really rich people, they'll just hire more people. I'm like, well, why would they do that? Like, if they were making all that money with the people they had, why would they? Because they had more money, why would they just hire more people for no reason? They wouldn't do that.
Right.
So it's like there's malformed. The whole notion is flawed on its face. I mean, maybe if it was marginal, like, oh, I really wanted to hire somebody, but I'm a little short, and okay, now I got taxes, so it might help a tiny bit. But generally speaking, if I had 10 people and I got all the work done, and then I had twice as much money. I still don't need an 11th because
Right.
it's the same amount of
Right.
work.
It's nice to have double the money. Put it in your
Yeah,
pocket. Walk away. Go home.
and
You win at life.
that's right. That's right. He made me think of George Carlin's ref about about golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the ball, hit the ball with a great stick, and then going after it, and then hitting it again. Pick it up and put it in your pocket and walk away. You won. You're a winner. Um, and the thing is, and it also goes against the whole idea of an incentive, right? An incentive is some sort of inducement to do particular behavior. It's like, well, if we give you a lot of money, you'll do something. No. It should be if you do the thing we want, then we give you the money. That's the way incentives work.
Right.
It's like when you get like when an auto manufacturer says, "Oh, we have incentives for buying our car," but you have to buy the fucking car to get the incentives. They don't just hand you cash and hope you'll buy their car. Well, that's good enough as any. That's one of the one I've looked in the etymology about. That's one of the things. It may not actually be true, but it sounds good.
Yeah, turning me on.
It is. It's my favorite place. Yeah. Yeah, that's like, obviously, as we talked before, sexuality is a spectrum, but I knew very early on that I guess if I wasn't particularly gay because penises make me angry. I don't
Wow.
even my own. I even like I mean, I'll be on the obvious utility. I'm like, that's fucking. I think they're all ugly. But like, women's genitalia, like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The other thing too, like I know, like when we were kids, they used to always like in media and in TV shows and shit like that. They always had this idea that like, when you're little, like when you're prepubescent, boy or prepubescent girl, that you didn't like. Oh, if I'm a prepubescent boy, I don't like girls. And not until I get older, I'm like, I had a crush on somebody, age appropriate, from when I was in kindergarten at least. And I could even, and at one point I could probably even name them. I probably still could. So I was like, when I was in kindergarten, there was this girl Elizabeth, and I had a crush on her. She didn't like me at all, but I had a crush on her. Then it was Karen Waterman from 1st to 3rd grade. And then fourth grade, Tracy. She was from Texas. And then 5th was Lisa, and 6th grade was, I'm not sure. I think no, Tracy was 6th. I forget who the 4th grade one was, but pretty much all the time there was some girl that I pined for long before I knew what sex was.
For me, 5th grade was a girl named Lisa. Lisa Lewis, and her twin sister Laura.
Cool.
I thought they were so pretty. They were both bitches.
And then 7th grade was Vicky. Well, there's these two friends, Vicky and Lisa. They were friends of each other, and I kind of had a crush on both of them, and they were really nice to me too. So that just amped it up. What's funny, I mentioned the 5th grade Lisa. I'm actually still friends with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am like, I keep going back and looking at these pictures. My God.
Oh,
where did you talk to Tattoo Skin?
Facebook. This was a long time ago. She's, like I said, I blocked her. So
a long time ago, you blocked her.
Yeah. But after she already transitioned.
Right.
Because like I said, she was going down the Trump road. So it would have been like, probably 2017. 2018 at the latest. That's when I blocked her.
I am still on and up. Yeah. For a little while, anyway.
Yeah, I won't be up for much longer.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. What is this video?
I do block Galen. I am Count Blockula.
Yes, definitely.
The thing is, for me, like I don't go to even though I get in arguments with people on Facebook sometimes. Usually people I don't know, thankfully. But I don't. I'm not on Facebook to have debates. I'm on Facebook to commiserate with my friends and keep in touch with people. And so if someone causes me grief, I just block them. I'm better about not blocking friends like I used to, but
I used to enjoy debating on Facebook. I used to get into a lot of arguments, a lot. Um, as time went by, that kind of diminished. But like transition, like going back on hormone, wasn't even surgery, but like you just a couple years ago, going back on hormones, just in general, kind of ended that entire practice. It was like a lot of the aggression just kind of
went away.
dissipated.
Well, I mean that's the thing. You get rid of the testosterone,
Yep.
and look, I mean I'm a man. I'm 54, right? I'll be 55 in October, and I have no doubt that I haven't been tested, but I would put money on it if I had a testosterone test that my testosterone levels are probably low.
Oh, 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 oh.
Oh, 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 oh. The right stuff.
The mic stuff
Ah, the white stuff.
in the middle of an Oreo. That was from Weird Al.
Yep. Hi there.
You doing Freddie Boom Boom Washington now?
Hey, that's right. From Welcome Back,
There we
Cobb.
go.
This is why we are friends.
You know how many people have no idea what they show was?
Yep, unfortunately, yeah, it's sad.
It was a good show. I feel
Yeah.
like it paved the way for Saved by the Bell.
For sure. Raven, do you remember? Give me drugs, give me drugs, give me drugs.
No.
Oh, there was one episode where I want to say Freddie was taking uppers, to compete in sport, and
Okay.
everyone was trying to get him to see that that was a bad thing. So they all pretended like they were on drugs to show. So Vinny was going around like he was pretending he was strung out. He's like, "Give me drugs, give me drugs, give me drugs," and just being ridiculous. And then Arnold actually ate some edibles, and he was like actually really like ballooned out. And then that's actually what makes Freddie go, oh, okay, this probably isn't smart, and he stops doing stuff.
I like when Arnold started his own religion, or he became a Mooney, right? What is, what was. No, wait, what is, what will be, what was, what will be again.
Well, it was funny. What's funny about that? Now most people wouldn't even know what a Mooney is,
It's true.
and they're still
Yeah.
around, but they're just not that. They're just not well known like they used to be.
Hey, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter.
Ron Palillo, John Travolta. I forget. Gabe Kaplan.
Gabe Kaplan, yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of the other two. Ron Palillo was Horshack, not Horshack, was Epstein.
Yeah, Juan Epstein, the Puerto Rican Jew.
What was really funny about that, because I don't know if it's because of that show or not, but in central New Jersey, for some reason, calling someone a Puerto Rican Jew was like a big insult. Supposed to be, anyway. Well, it's
Really?
great. Yeah, I don't know why people they get mad and they call you a Puerto Rican Jew. I'm like, what? why is that insulting? I don't get it. What's funny is that my long lost cousins that we discovered a few years ago because of DNA. Well, they're Puerto Rican, and we're all part Ashkenazi, so they are in fact Puerto Rican Jews.
Puerto Rican Jews, there you go.
Well, that was kind of cool. If you look at my relatives, I've got relatives everywhere. Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, atheists, you name it, and ethnic all over the planet. I'm getting DNA matches to people in Finland and Sweden and Ukraine, fucking in Israel, in Denmark, France, Spain. I was like, damn, you know.
So, Mike, how was
Yes.
the Muse concert?
It was the best concert I've ever gone to.
Oh, really? Who was
Was
it?
it because of
Hands
the
down.
music or the company?
Their music was a good part of it, and they were spot on with their songs, but also the lead singer Matt Bellamy. I have not seen anything like him since Prince.
Oh, okay.
Has total independent control of the instrument and his voice, and it's amazing.
Wow.
They had confetti, different types of confetti for different moods. Snow confetti, big political confetti, all sorts of confetti. Confetti cannons going off throughout the show. You know how Iron Maiden has Ed, and some incarnations of it, he's like just a giant head in the back of the stage, and he's looking at people. They had something like that, only they had two of them. One was a shrouded version, and then it went back behind a curtain for a while. When it came back, it was a giant minotaur-like god, and they had rented out seats on the sides of the arena so that they could put his hands that were like out into the arena.
Oh shit!
Like this guy was huge, lit from inside, lit on the outside, like different colors throughout the show. More fire than Rammstein.
Wow.
Which was really impressive since part of their show involved confetti cannons. But you could feel the fire coming off of their fire going everywhere. There were these, they were like television screens, only they were like two-way mirrors, and sometimes they could be used as stage lighting, and the light would go through, and then sometimes they'd be used as screens, but then other times they were just mirrors of what was happening right below them, and you could see, different angles of the stage. But these things could flap like butterflies in the air because of the way that they were suspended on cables.
Very nice.
And there were strip lights around the edges of them for extra mood lighting. They went all out on whatever device that is. They had a streamer cannon separate from the confettis, where they covered the American and Canadian flag with streamers because they shot everywhere. And this is the same place where the Avalanche and the Nuggets play. And all of the pennants got covered in streamer. There were streamers stuck to the top of the Pepsi Center. It was like streamer everywhere. It's a very powerful streamer cannon they have.
Wow.
At one point, they were playing their song "Uprising," and the beginning part, I thought it was a synthesizer. Right? They had modified something that looked like the Nintendo Power Glove, and he was adjusting a potentiometer on the side of the glove, but it was actually the location of his hand in the air that was doing the notes. Right? But he was playing his glove.
Well, it's kind of like a theremin, the way when you
like a theremin. And the bassist played a harmonica for a little while too, and threw the harmonica to the crowd.
Cool.
It was the best show ever, and Autumn can attest to it being in Autumn's top 5 at least. And Autumn is still processing like where it would fall. It was good.
So I saw a show like that when it was Guar and they were shooting fake blood and fake jizz on people.
I'm going to a show at the end of the summer where Guar is one of the openers.
Really?
But it's a odorous Urungerus free Guar because he's passed away.
Oh yeah, for a while now, yeah, 5 years or so.
So I don't know what kind of show they're going to have, but I want the Guar that is kind of like, spraying the crowd with all sorts of different colored stuff.
They still do. I mean, basically, the guy what they did was the guy who used to be who was the original Beefcake the Mighty. He is now the lead singer. So he plays different characters. So somebody else is playing Brutus, and he's got a different character. And I'm trying to remember what the name of his character is, but let me look it up here. I'll tell you in a second. Or
Well, the headliner for that show is Mudvayne, and so that's what I wanted to go see. What I was avoiding was they have a band that they are selling as Pantera that is touring. They replaced Dimebag Darrell with Zakk Wylde, and they replaced Vinnie Paul because he's dead too now.
right.
They replaced him with Charlie Benante from Anthrax. Zakk Wylde and Charlie Benante are really, really good, top tier musicians.
Yeah.
This is still not Pantera. I fucking will not go to that show. I want to boycott. Everybody who is a real metal fan should feel this way. Fuck that. It's a cash grab, fuckers. They don't have a new album. They don't have anything. They're touring on the old music.
Zakk Wylde was fired by Ozzy for being a drunk. When
Sounds
Ozzy
legit.
Osbourne fires you for substance abuse, you've got a fucking problem. You're in bad shape.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, yeah, it's 2014. Wow, it's been a long time ago that Dave Brockie died. It's hard to believe it's 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah. I didn't take that band seriously enough when I was a kid, and I had like 4 of their CDs, and I still didn't, make a point to go see them.
So Muse?
No,
Pantera?
no, Guar.
Yeah. So Mike Bishop, he used to play Beefcake the Mighty between 87 and 93, and then 98 to 99. His new character now is Lothar the Berserker.
Yeah. So I'm going to go see the Blothar version.
Right.
Lothar.
See how much it blows.
Thar.
Well, you can actually see on YouTube because I forget what the name of it. There was one there's this one like channel on YouTube that they get different bands to come in and sing cover songs, and Guar did 2 with Dave Brockie as as odorous, and then they did at least 1 with Blothar. So let me see here. Guar, Carry On My Wayward Son. Here we go. So the channel is where the fuck is that? I'm seeing people who had uploaded copies of it, and it's not the original. Oh, recover thing. Yeah, that's it. And they get a bunch of so let me see if I find the other Guar ones here. Guar. Not seeing it. Oh well.
Of all the things that we talk about that could not be done now, like Tropic Thunder. Guar doing a song called Baby Dick Fuck. No. That's not in today's music. They could not get away with that.
I don't know about that.
I mean, there's a lot that was in their music that was pushing the envelope that I feel like we've taken a step back and we can't do that anymore.
Well, see, the thing is with their audience, though, it's a different audience. I don't think they give a fuck. Like the people that get pissed off at it, they don't care. They're not part of Guar's audience.
True. They're actually, I feel like they're part of the show.
Well, I mean,
because if they come and they're protesting the show, that's part of going to the show.
right. Exactly. And I've seen Guar 3 times. And at least back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was never any protesters back then. Because that's where we were playing like City Gardens in Trenton, which is like a shithole. To give you an idea how bad the neighborhood is, the one time we were going, I'm driving down the street, and there was a car on fire on the side of the road, and no one was paying any attention to it. Like, it was just like, it wasn't a big deal. It's like, this is a regular scheduled car fire on Thursdays. It was not a big deal. And people were just walking down the street. No one was like, oh my God, there's a car on fire. Like,
So, have you guys covered a lot of ground today?
Not
a
really.
bit.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. A few things.
Why?
Okay. I had a crazy week, but nothing I can say on your live show.
Oh,
Yeah. Don't want to air anyone's dirty laundry out there, but this has been quite the week for me.
oh man, you have a can of Coke.
I have a set of cans.
Me too. No, Coca-Cola is best from the can.
Here's the thing I always thought was kind of strange with like euphemisms for various body parts. Okay, jugs, melons, hoodoo, all that made sense, but like cans never made any sense.
Okay.
It's a container.
So headlights is one thing that we would
There's
compare to.
a go-go bar on Route 15 here in New Jersey. It used to be called Headlamps.
Okay. And so there's also the stage lighting called cans, which
Oh yeah.
they project like headlights. So when I hear cans, I connect it all that way, and I give them a pass. I say, "Okay, boomer, they're boobs."
Boobs. They're bobs.
Open bobs. Well, what I think is the greatest thing is that we were in that chat where the guy came in and said open bob, and then like years later, and then that became a thing, and then years later, I started seeing it all over the internet, and I'm like, holy shit! Like we were there at the Ground
We
Zero.
were there for the birth of that. Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because every kind of thing, anything that becomes a thing, obviously started somewhere, right? And you wonder how did that start?
It's like there's been a bunch of that kind of stuff though. Like I remember when Richard Coughlin was trending on Twitter worldwide because there's the whole creeping Sharia thing.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, what?
Yeah, that was cool.
Back in the part of YouTube where we used to have control over our own channel page, I had videos that would be ranking in certain genres, but I was in the guru genre, so it was easier for me to get ranking there than in other genres. But the funniest one that we ever did was the Phantom Lion guy.
Yeah.
He made a promise that he was not going to talk about comic books for a week. And if he were to succeed, Zelda was going to give him a kiss. Right? So we kept on leaving comments on his channel about comic books and how much Batman, his hero, sucks. And we got everybody to leave these comments on his videos. And then his videos made it to like number 2 commented on video for the day. And I was like, what? We did that.
That's cool.
That's wild.
But we were just trying to, we were having conversations with each other. in his comment section, just back and forth, how much Batman sucks.
Well, then other people probably found it too, right? Because anyone does a search on Batman probably got a hit there and had something to say.
Well,
Well,
10 after 12.
yeah.
And when you think about it, it's 10 after 12 here in New Jersey. When you think about it, I started this stream yesterday. So I think we're only going to be out a little bit.
It's almost 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So maybe I'll just cut it off now.
Yeah, because Raven wants to hear all the dirt.
Oh, shit. I'll remember you said that you want to hear it.
Yes. All right, everybody. Have a delightful evening, morning, night, whatever the fuck it is where you are. Enjoy it. Don't take too many drugs. You know what? Fuck it. Take too many drugs. Just do it. Just do
No, just take just the right amount of drugs.
just the right amount. All right, everybody. Good night.